sprawled out completely flat on the chest of a fuming, unclothed woman who was screaming at me to haul my ass off her stomach. I jolted awake. Talk about a wild plot twist since I was supposed to be an 80-year-old corpse. Yet somehow, I just been zapped right back in 1981, where this drop-dead, gorgeous, long-legged firecracker turned out to be none other than Xiao Chunyin, my third wife, even though we had legally signed our divorce papers a mere 3 days ago, leaving me to wonder why on earth we were sharing a bed. Oh right, divorce. Firework style, apparently. Don't even ask, because she literally lunged for a pair of scissors to castrate me, prompting my lightning-fast escape, which was a pretty solid move. Make sure to kindly remind her she's stark naked first, and then bolt for the hills. You're totally welcome, honey. As I stood inside this rundown mud brick shack, the brutal reality slammed into my ribs with the exact force of her foot, proving that my past self was a certified clown, considering Xiao Chunyin was drop-dead gorgeous, wildly fierce, and destined to build a massive empire of 100 restaurants later on, while I had stupidly dumped her and my incredible first wife, Lin Wancho, who was gentle, sweet, and whom I had rescued ages ago, had stayed behind to tirelessly look after my entire family, despite me cruelly ditching her just for giving birth to a daughter, causing me to violently facepalm because I completely deserved it, before Mom abruptly burst in, completely drenched and freaking out, warning that my second wife, Yui, had headed into town to peddle firecrackers and completely vanished, triggering a chilling memory of the exact nightmare sequence about to unfold, involving ruthless thugs, a sketchy brick kiln, and a shattered psyche, but hey, not on my watch this time. So here I go, diving headfirst into the action, bawling my eyes out amidst a violent thunderstorm, powering down a treacherous dirt track that had turned into total sludge, shouting wild promises directly at the pouring rain, screaming new life, new me, and vowing that nobody is getting hurt today, so move it, mud. I charged through that torrential downpour like a total maniac, only to completely wipe out face first into the thick muck, getting a massive mouthful of dirty soil soup, rating it 0 stars out of 5 on Yelp. Yet I instantly hoisted myself back up and kept pushing forward, knowing that every single second mattered because my memory vividly recalled the horrific atrocities those absolute scumbags inflicted on Yui back in my previous timeline. And there was 0 chance in hell I was letting that tragedy repeat itself. Breaking straight through a dense cornfield, I finally located the decrepit brick kiln and heard her terrified shrieks, where 2 sleazy lowlifes in ratty windbreakers had my helpless second wife cornered, prompting me to snatch up half a broken brick and enthusiastically introduce it to the first guy's skull with a loud thud. Sweet dreams, pal. While the second punk instantly whipped out a switchblade, which was cute, so I expertly sidestepped his lunge, locked onto his wrist, and pulverized his forearm with my brick, making bones snap loudly while his knife clattered harmlessly against the stone, sending the coward flying backward into a massive heap of rubble, screaming at them to scram, which they totally did, before I carried Yui all the way home through the pouring rain like an absolute hero. Though did anyone actually stop to thank me? Huh? Nope. Mom just relentlessly whipped my legs with a broom, screaming that if I weren't such a useless, lazy bum, none of this mess would have ever happened, which was honestly a pretty fair point, followed by a thoroughly depressing breakfast consisting of watery corn porridge, diluted to the point where my own reflection stared back at me with pure judgment, accompanied by rock-hard black bread and intensely salty mystery pickles, right as my 3 kids pulled up their chairs, and the very second I reached out to gently pat my sick little boy on the back, my fiercely protective oldest daughter leaped up like an aggressive bodyguard. Leave my brother alone, you big jerk. Clinging tightly to her mother, my youngest daughter looked at me as if I were some kind of absolute monster. Honestly, the old version of me totally was one. Beating them up over minor stuff used to be my daily routine when they didn't measure up. My daughters were viewed as financial burdens, while my frail son was always sickly. Talk about top-tier parenting goals right there, Samish. Instead of breaking down in tears as I desperately wanted to, I swallowed hard and confessed, "You're totally right. I'm the absolute bad guy here, but I promise I'm going to turn things around." Blank stares hit me from all directions like I had suddenly sprouted a second head out of nowhere. Right then, a wild genius idea popped into my head. The family was starving, the kids were skin and bones, and my wife was burning up with a fever. So it was high time to hunt, prompting me to dig out my dad's old, rusty shotgun. A few dry, Usable bullets were salvaged from the bottom of the drawer, and after slinging the weapon over my shoulder, I marched right out the door. My mother yelled out a warning, while the third wife chimed in sharply. That rusty piece of junk hasn't been fired in ages. You're gonna blow yourself to smithereens, and then we'll be forced to haul your heavy corpse back home. Such heartwarming, emotional support from the family, as always. Without looking back, I headed straight for Big Blue Mountain, knowing the deep woods were rumored to crawl with fierce tigers, massive bears, and maybe even worse things, freaking lit, right? This excursion was bound to go super smoothly. Stomping into the heart of Big Blue Mountain, I was armed with nothing more than a rusty shotgun, and the survival instincts of a reincarnated 80-year-old grandfather trapped inside a young man's physique. According to the ancient village rule passed down for generations, crossing the 3-mile slope meant certain, gruesome death, since wild, primitive men supposedly haunted the brush up there. Basically Bigfoot's sketchy Chinese cousin, I suppose. Did any of those silly warnings faze me? Nope. The old version of me had spent decades living abroad and visiting high-end hunting ranges, giving me a marksmanship so insanely crisp that even lonely housewives used to compliment my dead-eye accuracy back in the day. Let's not dwell too deeply on that weird flex. Suddenly, a bizarre phenomenon unfolded right before my eyes. A mysterious red mist materialized floating in midair, acting like some sort of supernatural GPS that tracked my every single step, moving when I moved and pausing when I paused. Was I losing my mind and hallucinating? Probably out of my absolute gourd. Did I follow it blindly anyway? You bet your life I did. After all, what's the absolute worst that could possibly happen in a dense forest? Crawling with hungry tigers? The glowing red mist eventually led me straight into a quiet clearing, where a pair of aggressive wolves were frantically trying to devour a helpless pangolin. The defensive strategy chosen by the pangolin was sheer genius. It curled tightly into an impenetrable, armored sphere and just chilled out completely. Frustrated, the relentless wolves kept biting down, only to severely damage and crack their own teeth. Much respect to you, little tank buddy, but I desperately needed to bag that pangolin for myself. 10 solid pounds of fresh meat plus valuable medicinal scales. That score was an absolute jackpot for a family currently surviving on watery, see-through porridge. Scrambling up a sturdy tree trunk, I channeled my inner tactical sniper and shouted, "Bang!" As a result, wolf number 1 dropped straight to the forest floor like a limp sack of potatoes. Wolf number 2 looked around in complete bewilderment for a split second before realization finally dawned. And with another sharp bang, down she went too. 2 precise shots, 2 dead wolves, all executed in 5 seconds flat. I was basically John Wick rocking a pair of cheap straw sandals. Sensing immediate danger, the surviving pangolin panicked and started rolling away rapidly, just like a tiny spiked bowling ball, moving with surprising speed down the slope. Locking my crosshairs on the soft, exposed belly gap, I pulled the trigger and fired. Bang! Sorry about this, buddy. Crouching down low next to the dying creature in the dirt, I decided to offer him a proper, heartfelt eulogy. Brother Pangolin, please don't take this personally at all. My 3 kids currently look like fragile little bean sprouts. My 3 ex-wives have completely forgotten what the rich taste of actual meat is like. And my angry mother is practically itching to beat me to death with a wooden broom. So in your next reincarnation, do your best not to spawn as a pangolin, because everyone out here apparently wants a piece of you. Once the deed was done, I had to pay my respects to the fallen armor bro. Carrying those heavy wolves was simply out of the question. Tipping the scales at a combined 150 pounds, I hid them securely beneath a thick layer of autumn leaves. A quick scratch on a nearby tree trunk served as my trail marker. Scooping up Mr. Pangolin, I finally started making my way back home. Night had already fallen by the time I rolled back. Perched on an old stone mill outside, Lin Wancho was keeping watch. Dozing off while hugging her knees tight in the chilly evening air, she looked dead tired. She'd been stressing out over the sheer fear of that old gun blowing up right in my face. The moment she laid eyes on the pangolin, though, her jaw completely unhinged. "You actually bagged something? No way. Oh, and by the way, there's a pair of dead wolves stashed up on the mountain." Her voice cracked just as Mom came rushing out the door. Wife number 3 stumbled out next, sporting wild bedhead, and her signature attitude, ready to fire off a snappy remark. Empty-handed again, right? I knew the exact second her gaze locked onto the weird creature in my hands. Her mouth stayed wide open, but the biting insult just evaporated into thin air. Mom kept poking me repeatedly in the chest, her face screaming, What kind of dark sorcery is this? And Chunyan, after staring in dead silence for 10 full seconds, finally managed to choke out, "Did you steal this?" Classic. I simply dropped the scaly critter onto the kitchen floor and headed straight back out to recruit muscle for hauling those massive wolves, before some scavenging beast dragged them away. Standing frozen in the yard behind me, the three women stared at each other, as if they just caught a glimpse of a ghost. Mom muttered under her breath, "This absolute fool really must have swallowed the wrong medicine today." And right from behind a closing door, I'm pretty sure I caught Chunyan whispering softly to herself, "Two wolves all by himself? Yeah, right. Well, ladies, entirely by myself." The upgraded version of me has officially arrived, since hauling 150 pounds of dead wolf solo was a bit much. It made total sense to hit up my absolute best buddy, Horror, at his place. Horror, whose real name is Fan Jinxing, took a nasty spill from a tree as a kid that scrambled his brains just a bit. He might be a little slow on the uptake, but he's as fiercely loyal as a golden retriever, and built like an absolute brick wall. Gotta love the guy. I started pounding on his front door at some ungodly hour of the night. He swung it open shirtless with half-shut, sleepy eyes, rambling, "Bro, my parents are at each other's throats again. Mom won't stop screeching and Dad refuses to back down." Yeah, they definitely weren't fighting, though Horror didn't need any spoilers just yet. Watching him stand right there in front of me, on two perfectly functional legs, I almost completely broke down emotionally. In my past life, this gorgeous, simple-minded guy had his legs smashed to pulp by ruthless gangsters, while trying to shield me from harm. He ended up confined to a wheelchair for the remainder of his days, and the very first words out of his mouth afterward were literally, "Bro, are you okay?" Even though I pulled him into a bone-crushing bear hug that made him squeak, he just asked, "Bro, why are you crying? Did your mom beat you up again? Or did your wife kick you off the sleeping mat once more?" "Shut up, your legs look fantastic." "Thanks. I use them every single day." As soon as I casually mentioned that free meat was involved, his eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. Without wasting time on a single question, he grabbed a sturdy carrying pole and some thick rope, whispered, "Mom and Dad are totally distracted. They won't even notice." And we slipped away into the shadowy mountain landscape. Soon enough, we tracked down the wolves right at the exact spot I left them. Horror collapsed so heavily that his body literally bounced back up. "Bro, are they real? Are they dead?" "Dead," I assured him, like seriously deceased. Carrying them back into the village, we got their legs securely tied. Everything was brought straight to Hawker's dad. Suddenly, Uncle Shuangju Horror burst inside, screaming at the top of his lungs, "Dad, stop hitting Mom. Come see the wolves." A heavy thud echoed through the room. Stumbling out through the doorway came Uncle Shuangju. He was desperately pulling up his pants, looking completely pissed. "You little," I was right in the middle of. "You scared me so bad I nearly. I'll kill you." Then his gaze landed on the massive wolves. Mouth dropped open, eyes staring wide. He gave the thick fur a tentative poke, then reached out to touch it again, staring at me like I had just stepped off a UFO. Pitching him a solid deal, I offered to help sell the meat. He could keep 3 pounds for his family's dinner table, plus an extra 2 yuan just for his trouble. Slapping his own thigh with a loud echo, he shouted, "Deal!" Right there in the dusty alley, Uncle Shuangju set up a wobbly, janky table, starting to holler at the top of his lungs like a blaring air raid siren. "Wolf meat. Fresh wolf meat. Come get some and bulk up." Back in 1981, entertainment simply didn't exist in rural China. Fresh meat was a luxury, so hearing wolf meat at the break of dawn caused a frenzy. The entire village rushed out of their houses in their sleepwear. Even the newlywed couples, who had been deeply invested in their heavy morning workouts, dragged themselves out of bed to investigate. "Shuangju, is this actually a real wolf? But did you skin someone's dead mutt?" Slicing it open to prove his point, he confirmed, "Definitely a wolf." "Who took it down?" "Luby. Elu. Begriega. That good for nothing? The guy whose only actual talent is stealing village chickens?" Then my boy Horror, bless his slightly scrambled little brain, decided to pitch in by shouting at the top of his lungs, "Yeah," while my bro was busy wiping out wolves up on the mountain. My dad was back home beating my mom. Total, suffocating silence fell over the crowd. A smug village smart aleck broke into a grin. "Oh yeah. How exactly was your old man beating her?" Lunging forward in a panic, Uncle Shuangju tried to clamp a hand over Horror's mouth. Way too late, though. With the pure, unbothered confidence of a toddler hosting a wildlife documentary, Horror acted it out using dramatic hand gestures. Mom was on all fours right there on the bed. And Dad was behind her, slapping her. Like, super hard, while she kept yelling out weird stuff. I honestly think he hit her so hard she lost her mind. Instantly, the entire gathering exploded in laughter. Several women were wiping away tears of amusement, while old ladies pointed straight at Uncle Shuangju's bright red face, wheezing out, "Still got it, old man." Uncle Shuangju's complexion shifted to the exact shade of raw liver. Swatting Horror hard across the back of the head, he hissed, "Shut up, shut up." But I totally saw it with my own eyes. Watching the chaos unfold, I laughed so hard I nearly choked. Some things never change, though. Oh, Horror, you absolute masterpiece of a disaster. The wolf meat vanished quicker than hot concert tickets. Priced at just 1 yuan per pound, it was way cheaper than government pork, and absolutely zero ration tickets were acquired. Locals swarmed the stall like a horde of hungry zombies. Even brains and bones caught a whiff of the deal. A bunch of folks grabbed that skeleton for just 2 cents too, intending to brew soup for her husband's aching back. Sure thing, lady. His poor back, right? Let's tally it up. A solid 105 yuan in 1981 currency. That felt like unearthing a duffel bag stuffed with cash. Uncle Xuanju was handed 10 yuan by me, along with his promised 3 pounds of meat. He stared right at me, as if I'd suddenly evolved into a totally different species. "Luby, keep pulling moves like this," he said, "and forget about just 3 wives. Even Widow Lee from East Village is going to come knocking on your door." "Appreciate it, uncle." Real smooth, right? Then Harper grabbed my arm and murmured, "Bro, next time we head out hunting, let me break down the exact way my dad used to beat my mom." I observed super closely, see? His stance was... My hand clamped over his mouth so insanely fast. I damn near popped my own shoulder out of place. "Harper, never utter a single word about this ever again." But why though? It's just casual fighting chatter. Trying to reason with this kid is tougher than hunting wolves. So I play my ultimate trump card. Bring it up again, and you're permanently banned from the hunting squad. His mouth snapped shut tighter than a clamshell. Problem handled. I limped back home, completely drained. Having pulled an all-nighter, I stumbled toward a door, plunged face first onto a bed, buried myself in the cozy blankets, and grabbed something soft, silky smooth, and radiating body heat. Bam! Right back onto the floor I went. "Luby, you absolute animal. We literally just hooked up yesterday, and you're back for round 2? Wrong room entirely." I had accidentally wandered into Chunyin's bedroom. To be fair, every single door looks identical in the dark, and I was practically sleepwalking anyway. An apology was muttered before I beat a hasty retreat. And get this. She was genuinely baffled as to why I walked out. Apparently, the old version of me never left. Whenever he blundered blindly into her private quarters, she'd just sit there thinking, "You want to cop a feel? Fine by me, just don't file for divorce first. You total jerk. If we were still legally married, you could pull off whatever weird positions you wanted. Not a single complaint would leave my mouth. But you walked out, and now you creep into my bed like a total pig." She pulled the covers high over her head and muttered curses until she fell asleep. What a complex woman. Hours later, the rich aroma of cooking meat woke me up. Actual, real meat. Stepping outside, I immediately crossed paths with my youngest daughter, little Nyan, only 6 years old. Catching sight of me, she shook like a bunny spotting a hawk, darted right behind her big sister, and hid her face away. Pampan, age 8, instantly whipped out a sharpened stick she'd stashed away beneath a stool, and aimed it dead in my chest like a miniature warrior. "Stay back, you bad man. Take another step closer, and I'll skewer you." Her little hand was trembling, and the stick wobbled wildly in the air. Yet she held her ground right in front of her little sister, refusing to yield even a single inch. Right then, my eyes caught the faded scars lining her tiny hands, leftover marks from shielding her face when the old me used to beat her. I honestly wanted the ground to swallow me whole right there. Stepping back slowly, I dropped into a low crouch, and tried to look as small and harmless as possible. "Pampan, you braided Nyen's hair really pretty today. Stop pretending I've heard that trick before." Fair enough. I retreated without pressing the issue any further. Her voice whispered softly, "It's okay, Nyen. The bad man's gone." That statement shattered my heart into roughly 1,000,000 pieces. Making my way to the kitchen, I found Mom busy stewing the wolf meat. "Forsick. Did anyone praise me? No." A sharp smack on the forehead came straight from Mom. "Where's the money? Did you gamble it away? Did you blow it somewhere?" Suddenly stepping into the scene, Chunyin dropped her greatest hit right on cue. Oh, please. He didn't kill those wolves. Uncle Shuangju did this faker, just help carry them. So he could take credit. So pathetic. Such is my reality, having saved a wife, slain 2 wolves, and brought home 105 yuan, plus actual meat for the first time in forever, only for my entire household to assume I'm either lying, gambling, or suffering a total psychotic break. New life, same zero respect level, and the exact same money drama. My first move was handing Mom the initial 95 yuan. After counting it twice, her eyes glowed like a dragon discovering gold, and she quickly shoved the cash deep in her coat pocket. I'm keeping this all of it, you with money. Today it's in your pocket. Tomorrow it's on a gambling table. Day after it's in some widow's purse. To be fair, she wasn't wrong. My past self basically functioned as an ATM for terrible decisions, fighting tooth and nail as if my survival depended on it, because it truly did. I managed to claw back 65 yuan. Mom's terms account for every penny. Miss one, I break your legs. She then dropped a reality check about having 8 mouths to feed. Genius. So I divided the funds accordingly. 12 yuan went to Wan Xiao for her and Pompon's clothes. Being the absolute angel she is, she tried to refuse, only for Mom to overrule her. The kid's shoes have been talking for 2 days. You think I didn't notice the hole? 12 for you. Mom snatched it. I'll hold hers until she's better. 12 to Chunyin, who grabbed it instantly. With zero hesitation, she immediately started roasting me. Don't think this pocket change makes you a provider. 100 yuan split 8 ways that last what? A week. 29 yuan left for medicine, shoe supplies, and apparently a miracle. Right after that, I dropped a bombshell. No more firecracker factory work. That stuff explodes you. He nearly got killed yesterday, and you're all handling gunpowder at home, with children around from now on. I provide for this family. Following 3 seconds of heavy silence, Chunyin burst out laughing. You support us if you can provide for this family. Pigs can climb trees. She then went full courtroom prosecutor on me, dragging up every single crime from my past life. In excruciating detail, want you. Trusted you, you promised her the world. A daughter was brought into this world for you by her. Dishes shattered against the wall while you dismissed the baby as a total money pit. He placed his complete trust in you and handed you everything he had. A second daughter arrived, yet your gaze refused to even meet hers before the divorce papers were signed. Then came my turn, as 3 in a row crossed my mind. Unbelievably, even after presenting you with a son, happiness was still nowhere to be found in your eyes. Complaints spilled from your lips that the boy lacked strength and failed to match your lineage. Those exact words actually left your mouth, culminating in 3 women all ending up divorced. Behind our backs, the villagers slapped the label Luby's 3 on us. We were whispered about as mere second-hand goods. Did you really think those whispers escaped my awareness right before the absolute kill shot dropped? You claim you want to support this family. Does that responsibility even belong to someone like you? That realization hit my chest like a speeding truck loaded with harsh truths. Silence hung heavy around Monkio as my eyes scanned the room. Mom kept her head bowed down, offering zero defense on my behalf. Fear flickered in my son's eyes as he peeked out at me. Little Nyan sought safety by burying herself deep within her sister's arms. Standing right there at 8 years old was Pampan, an icy glare colder than a commercial freezer locked straight onto me. Not a single word escaped her lips, because none were even necessary. That piercing stare carried more weight than everything Chun Yin had just ranted about combined. Any attempt at an argument died instantly in my throat. Defending myself was a luxury I had zero right to claim. A whole lifetime built on garbage cannot simply be erased. Just as those 2 dead wolves lay slain, Mom stepped in to rescue me from the wreckage. The man is right. He completely lacks any claim to it. Now stop standing around like a statue and go process that pangolin already. God bless that woman, because without her sudden interruption, Chun Yin clearly had enough material stockpiled to keep going for another full hour. So there I ended up, squatting low in the dusty corner, frantically scraping tough pangolin scales into a cracked ceramic bowl. Those specific scales were basically medicinal gold. Footsteps approached as Wanchio walked over holding a mug of warm water. Pretty sweet gesture, right? Then she dropped the bomb. Did you happen to sneak back into Chen Yin's room once more this morning? My feet had simply wandered through the wrong doorway. Exhaustion had left me feeling practically half dead. You are legally divorced now, and creeping into an ex-wife's bedroom is low-key a crime, meaning the local police could actually slap the cuffs on you. Have you considered what would happen to Mom and the kids if that went down? My eyes locked onto hers while she nervously squirmed in place. Right then, An unexplainable force completely hijacked my brain. Instead of functioning like a normal, appreciative human being by simply saying thank you, my foolish mouth decided to go totally rogue. Come on, Juan, are you feeling a bit jealous over here? How about I bunk up in your room tonight instead? Before I could blink, she reached across and painfully pinched my inner thigh with full force. Right on the inner thigh, she delivered that pinch and stormed off in a huff. I try my best to lend a hand, and all you do is clown around like an absolute goof. Forget it. Left sitting there completely stunned, I massaged my aching leg. Wondering why out of all possible places to pinch, she chose the inner thigh, landing a pinch right next to the family jewels. Makes you wonder if wife number one is secretly jealous. That targeted placement was way too suspicious to ignore. The raw pangolin meat was quickly handed off to the kitchen crew, and suddenly, my 4 women transformed into an elite Michelin star culinary brigade. Mom took command of the wok, while Wanchio was put in charge of the fire duty. Chun Yin handled the heavy chopping of the vegetables. 3 separate XYs alongside my own mother were crammed tightly inside a tiny kitchen no bigger than a walk-in closet, working together in seamless harmony. Meanwhile, yours truly, the supposed man of the house, got permanently banished up onto the roof to patch up roof tiles looking like some kind of human pigeon. Then the exact moment that completely shattered me unfolded. Pan, my sweet 8-year-old daughter, stepping right into the warm kitchen. The little girl with sharp eyes stared at the pile of meat. She swallowed hard, looked straight at Grandma, and finally spoke up. A plea slipped past her lips as she mentioned her brothers. Little brother is obsessed with stir-fry. Little sister prefers everything sweet braised. Could you prepare their meals separately, please? Not a single syllable was uttered about her own cravings. Standing at just 8 years old and shooting up like a weed. Having gone months without tasting any meat at all. Her family was shockingly placed before herself. Grandma's eyes instantly watered before she asked, "What about you, Pan? Whatever is left over will be fine for me." Something deep inside my chest literally fractured right then and there. Resentment toward the world should have consumed this kid entirely. Yet, she was stepping up as a better parent than I had ever managed to be. 3 distinct dishes were whipped up by Mom. A fiery stir-fry for Pan alongside a braised plate for Nian, and something plain for our sickly little Bao. Each child was handed an individual plate of their own. Back in 1981, this felt like an absolute royal feast. As dinner time arrived, everyone crowded tightly around the wooden table. 7 bodies were jammed onto the benches with 0 room to spare. Not a single seat remained for me, leaving me wondering where to go. Dead silence hung in the air until Pan spoke up. With a chilling tone, she declared that bad people didn't deserve to sit with them. She was completely right about that. At this exact table, I used to violently slap her across the face, simply for daring to take 1 extra bite of food. Once upon a time, her entire bowl was sent flying across the room by my hand. Mom finally broke the heavy quiet by telling me to scoop some food. Grab your corn mush and go squat somewhere else. You're an absolute eyesore. There I ended up, squatting out under the cold eaves, dining completely alone with my back turned to my own family, while listening to the kids inside argue over who could pile the most meat on a Grandma's plate. "Grandma, please eat this massive piece right here." "No, Grandma, you eat first. Grandma is the supreme boss of this household. If Grandma refuses to touch her food, nobody else is eating either." Those 3 tiny voices chanted in unison. My heart felt like it was simultaneously melting down and being stabbed with a knife. Suddenly, a hand reached out from the side, holding out a steaming bowl of hot pangolin meat. Wan Xiao looked everywhere in the room except at my face. "Some was saved for you, so hurry up and eat it while it's still warm." She turned around and walked away as if nothing had happened at all. Even though I had divorced this woman just for giving birth to a daughter, she was still out here sneaking me portions of meat. Making a promise to Wan Xiao, I vowed, "I'll make sure every single one of you eats meat every single day from now on." Chunyin materialized out of thin air instantly. She possessed supernatural bat hearing whenever my dumb promises left my mouth. "Every single day, is that right? You're a big talker, so how about you use less mouth training and put some actual brain cells to work instead? If you fail to deliver, you completely lose the right to carry the Liu family name." Mom then emerged to drop the ultimate final mission. Yui's fever had dropped slightly thanks to the pangolin soup. Yet she remained terribly weak while going through her period. "Head down to the rice paddies right now to catch some eels and loaches. They work wonders for replenishing blood. Oh." She paused right there for dramatic effect. "If you dare come back empty-handed, Don't bother coming back at all. Cool, fantastic. No pressure whatsoever, just another impossible task thrown my way. Courtesy of the woman who literally controls all my money, protecting my self-respect and my basic right to breathe in this house. Off I go. I was halfway down the dusty road when a total memory bomb just wrecked my brain. Back in my past life. You had gynecological problems her entire life. Why? Because way back in 1981, rural women handled their periods with a cloth bag, stuffed with rough paper tied tightly around their waist. Honestly, it's straight-up medieval tech. The very first sanitary pad factory in China won't even exist until 1982. Sure, there are imported ones at the town store, costing 7 cents a pack, but that's a whole pound of cornmeal money. So nobody buys them. I abruptly spun around and sprinted home. Chunyin went off right on the spot. Didn't I call it? Your son talks big and walks small. He's been gone 10 minutes, and he's already back. Where are the eels? Let me guess. He found a nice tree and napped under it. Mom poked her head out the doorway, saw me standing there empty-handed, and her face just collapsed. She didn't even yell. She was way too tired of yelling, which honestly hurt worse. I forgot the traps, and I need to talk to Yuhi. I grabbed my gear from the dark shed, then headed straight to Yuhi's room. Chunyin tailed me closely like a suspicious detective. Yuhi was propped up in bed, looking pale, sweaty, and still terrified of me. The moment she saw I'd stepped in, she shrank back against the cold wall. I couldn't really blame her because every time past me was nice. A brutal slap always followed. Then I committed the dumbest move ever. I reached right under her blanket, straight into her waistband. Yuhi froze like a stone statue, her brain completely offline. Chunyin needed precisely 0.5 seconds to process this madness. Ubi. You absolute animal. She snatched the broom and swung it hard at my back, like a baseball bat in broad daylight. Right in front of my face, she screamed, "She has a fever. You're not human. You're a total beast. I'll kill you." I caught the broom handle right mid-swing. She kicked out while I held on tight. She threatened to rip off my equipment and feed it straight to the pigs, just a standard Tuesday with Chunyin. Listen to me. I was just checking what she's using for her period. Dead silence. It's a cloth bag with rough paper, right? Yui's face flushed from red to deep purple. Chunyin stood frozen, holding the broom, her brain rebooting. Bullcrap. You shoved your hand down her pants. And now you claim you were checking? Couldn't you just ask instead of using your hands? Okay, she actually had a point there. But if I had asked, hey, what's in your underwear? Chunyin would have murdered me even faster. I explained that cloth and paper setup is totally unsanitary, which is probably why Yuhi keeps getting sick. I solemnly promised to buy real sanitary pads for all 3 of them. Chunyin paused, asking, "You can afford that? I'll make the money. If I don't deliver, let lightning strike me down." She threw the broom down and stormed angrily out, then popped back in, stuck her head through the door crack, and warned Yuhi, "If he ever touches you again, scream. I'm gonna waste him, deadass." Right after she left, Yuhi cast a sidelong glance at me from beneath her blanket, her eyes swollen and bloodshot, totally giving me the side eye with a "yeah, right" vibe. You never gave a damn if I was freezing, sick, or in agony, but now you're tripping over my underwear? After blurting out a quick apology and telling her to get some shut-eye, I bounced. Stepping outside, Hadi ambushed me right away, announcing that half the village was ready to go wolf hunting on the spot. Shutting that idea down, I told him no way, because I had to snag some eels. Since my wife was dealing with her monthly visitor. Confused, he asked what a period was, so I explained it's when Annie Flo drops by. Hadi's expression instantly crunched up like a trash piece of paper. Annie Flo? She just rolled up to visit third sister-in-law. Did she catch an ox car to get here, or just hoof it? You'll get it once you finally tie the knot. Slapping his own thigh in sudden realization, Hadi went, "Oh. So getting married means Annie Flo comes to stay. And you hunt down eels just to host her? Got it. The second I lock down a wife, and Annie Flo makes an appearance. I'm catching eels too. I'm gonna feed Annie Flo so damn well. She'll definitely hit me up to come back next month." Pumping his fist in the air, he declared that Annie Flo would say this dude serves top-tier eels, which was wild. The way he paired great eels with Annie Flo made the whole concept sound deeply, uncomfortably cursed. Not even knowing where to begin to unpack that mess, I grabbed his arm and hauled him toward the muddy rice paddies before he could spew any more weirdness. "Bro, chill out. Annie Flo isn't ghosting anyone anytime soon." Meanwhile, back at the house, Chunyin was leaning against the wooden gate, silently watching me fade away. She'd actually spotted those fancy imported pads once at the town general store, reached out to grab a pack, checked the price tag, and immediately snatched her hand back, never in a million years expecting that looby. That utterly useless, gambling-addicted deadbeat of a husband would even notice what women need during their cycles. Biting her lip, she stepped back inside, threw one last look down the deserted alleyway, and muttered under her breath, "Psycho." As soon as I hit the edge of the irrigation ditches, my magical red dot vision kicked back into gear. Except this time, instead of just one solitary glowing path, dozens of bright red dots were scattered everywhere, glowing beneath the muck like a tacky underwater Christmas tree, with every single dot marking an eel hidden inside its tiny mud crib. Looking skeptical, Hadi chimed in, "Bro, my old man swears eels only crawl out after dark. He sits squatting in the pitch black for hours, only to bag 5 pathetic eels and 30 nasty leech bites. My mom says his shins look like polka dot pancakes, and he should just buy salted mackerel from the market instead." Ignoring him entirely, I zeroed in on a coin-sized hole in the mud, plunged my bamboo tongs straight down, and gently tapped the surface of the water twice with my fingertips. 3 seconds flat, a thick yellow head popped right out. Clamp. Eel number 1 secured. Hadi's jaw practically detached and hit the rice paddy. You literally just flicked the water and it popped out of nowhere? Eels mistake those ripples for bugs crash landing on the surface. Basic biology that your dad apparently never bothered to teach you. My dad was too busy brawling with my mom. Switching into full assembly line mode, I spotted another hole and tapped the water. Just wait 3 seconds, then snap and pull. 10 seconds per single eel. Harper began counting right on his fingertips. By the 15th eel, he completely ran out of fingers and started ripping off his shoes to use his toes instead. Suddenly my eyes locked onto a movement inside a rock crack. It wasn't a red dot, but an actual snake. Nudging it with a stick made it hiss and shoot straight out. So I caught it barehanded right behind the head. Surprised out his mind, Harper flipped backward into the paddy, jaw dropping, wide enough that you could easily park an egg inside. Bro, you're literally not human. 2 hours later, we had 40 eels stacked up, half a basket of loaches, plus 3 water snakes. For lizards, a dozen frogs, and 2 random fish, weighing a total of 5 pounds as the basket was overflowing. Harper, run home right now and grab more baskets. Exactly how many should I bring? 5. 5? How much more crazy stuff are you planning to catch? Everything extra goes straight to support your family. After all, if your dad helped me sell those wolves. Harper sprinted back home at full speed, his soaked pants flapping wildly behind him like flags. His father Shuangju was chilling in the yard, smoking his pipe. "Dad, I need 5 empty baskets immediately." "What for?" Bro's basket is completely packed with eels and loaches, plus snakes, frogs, and fish. Shuangju's pipe froze dead in midair under the afternoon sun. "How many eels did he say?" "The whole basket is full, Dad. You normally only catch 10 on a really good night." Yet Bro reeled in 40 in 2 hours during broad daylight, and he literally never missed once. Shuangju handed over the baskets in absolute silence. Just as Harper dashed away, his dad called out behind him, "Son, keep your eyes glued to him. If you can master even half his technique, I could die a happy man." We worked straight until dark. All 6 baskets were filled to the brim. Over 60 eels alongside mountains of wriggling loaches. Snakes, lizards, frogs, and fish. It was a truly biblical harvest. Harper lay flat on his back on the ridge, grinning broadly, like it was New Year's Day, shouting, "Bro, I have genuinely never seen this many eels in my entire life. If my old man finds out, he's going to chew his pipe clean in half." Then I handed him the tool to try. His very first attempt was way too forceful. He accidentally scared the eel right back down. On his second try, an eel poked its head out and Harper slammed the tongs so fast he completely missed the target. His third try was nice and gentle with a perfect clamp, bro. I actually got one. Holding that eel up high like an Olympic gold medal winner, he screamed triumphantly to the heavens. When I finally get a wife and Annie Flo comes to visit, I'm going to cook and serve her delicious eels. I will make sure Annie Flo eats so incredibly well that she'll want to come back every single month. I stared blankly at him, realizing he genuinely thought Annie Flo was a literal aunt who drops by for visits and snacks on eels. And now he actually intended to serve her a feast of eels, treating Annie Flo to a dinner of eels, making sure the eels go in so Annie Flo is completely satisfied. The mental picture that created eels combined with Annie Flo, plus making sure she's satisfied. Oh, hell no. No, I am definitely not going down that mental rabbit hole. Some chaotic thoughts just need to be wiped from the brain. Permanently, because this guy must never be permitted to utter eels and Annie flow in the exact same sentence ever again. Never again. Under the silver glow of the rising moon, Potter kept hunting for eels relentlessly. Even though his catch rate hovered around a modest 30%. Still, he was low-key hyped over netting 23 eels, totally smashing his personal best. Right after, he passed out flat on the dewy lawn like a lifeless starfish. Before I even knew what hit me, a heavy muscular arm sneaked around my waist from behind, totally creeping me out. With his eyes shut tight and a goofy grin, whispering how cozy it felt, every single hair on my body instantly stood on end. "Get your hands off me, man," but he just argued back. "Well, I don't have a wife yet, so you need to help me make some cash to bag one." His eyes suddenly lit up bright, like firecrackers. "Bro, I'm teaming up with you. And the second I finally score a wife, you're going to teach me how to make babies." Wait, you seriously don't know how? The only time I ever caught my old man doing anything was him hitting my mom once. Though I'm pretty sure that's not how you make babies work. Seeing that you married 3 gorgeous women and popped out 3 kids. It makes you an absolute expert, obviously. On my actual wedding night, you could just post up right next to the bed and walk me through the whole thing. I yelled stop as I physically slapped my hand over his mouth. This guy actually expected me to act as his bedside, live play-by-play commentator on his wedding night, literally standing right there, calling out instructions like a fired-up football coach. "If you ever dare repeat that nonsense to anyone, I swear I'll end you." He nodded obediently right beneath my palm, still totally clueless about why it was weird. Eventually, we drifted off to sleep back-to-back under the starry night sky, amidst croaking frogs and the distant village lights slowly fading out, while everyone else wrapped up their nightly routines. The next morning before the sun even cracked, I snuck back home to grab those wolf pelts and pangolin scales, until a sudden, piercing shriek echoed from the outhouse. It was definitely Yui. My paranoid brain instantly jumped to conclusions that some creep was peeping at my wife. So I sprinted over at full speed, ready to throw hands and commit murder. Turns out it was a total false alarm because she had squatted way too long. Her legs had completely fallen asleep, and she took a tumble. Naturally, I stepped in to lift her up, totally innocent, right? Except her pants decided to slide right down because her belt was way too loose. And my eyes caught some snowy white views. Exceptionally nice views that I might have accidentally lingered on for a second, when Chun Yin materialized out of nowhere like a heat-seeking missile. She caught me holding Yuhi with her trousers bunched down around her knees, and my eyeballs locked dead downward, screaming, "Lou, hey, you absolute animal." She swung a thick wooden stick at my head, but I snatched it right out of midair. Her legs just went completely numb, and she fell over. I was only helping her up. Those pants slipped down totally by themselves. By themselves, then why are your perverted dog eyes still staring right there? You were blatantly taking advantage of the situation. This right here counts as attempted murder against your own husband. Well, you aren't my husband anymore after this. Without hesitation, I grabbed the wolf pelts and pangolin scales and vaulted straight over the courtyard wall to make my escape. Echoing loudly behind me came Liu. "B. You better get your butt back here right now," though long after I had already vanished. He quietly filled the other women in on what actually went down, letting out a collective sigh of relief. Mom immediately clutched her chest in shock, while Chun Yin still remained unsatisfied. Even if it truly was just an honest accident, he still caught a glimpse of things he had no business seeing. So moving forward, you better bolt that outhouse door shut, or that wild animal is going to pop up again out of nowhere. Though the funny part was that absolutely nobody noticed, as they escorted Yui back inside the house. Her face was flushed a deep crimson, as vivid memories flooded back of how my firm hands had securely gripped her arms, feeling remarkably steady and warm, completely unlike before. Meanwhile, I finally rolled up to the local rice paddy. "Face bright red, bro." "Why is your face red? It's hot." "Shut up, let's go to town at the market." My mysterious vision glitched and shifted once again, this time skipping the red dots entirely. Vibrant purple specks were now scattered across the storefronts, lining the bustling east side of the market, some shades glowing dark while others stayed light. If red means prey, then purple definitely means money. A prime business opportunity where the darker the dot equaled a sweeter deal, though there was only one way to find out. First, I targeted a seafood shop operated by a woman in her 30s, wearing a tight floral blouse, bright red lipstick, and boasting assets that could literally stop traffic. Harry caught sight of her and completely froze. His gaze instantly drifted south and stayed parked there. Drool starting to form as I stepped up to negotiate prices. She lowballed me hard when you on for eels. When the retail price is 2. Take it or leave it. I turned to walk away, attempting to drag Harry along with me. He wouldn't budge an inch, still fixated on her personality. A sharp smack to the back of his head snapped, "Stop looking." The prettier the woman, the darker her heart. She noticed Harry openly gawking and, rather than getting pissed off, flashed him a playful wink. "Hey, handsome. Selling what's in your basket?" I physically hauled him away from the counter, before his brain could completely short-circuit. Bro, that lady was so pretty quiet. I dragged him straight to the next stall, because that purple indicator glowed even deeper than the previous one. Whatever waited inside promised to be an even better score. Waiting at the next shop was a middle-aged guy who actually understood the real market value of things. His offered rates were nearly double. The Scam Queen's cheap bids at 2.80. Snakes at $3, making everything totally fair. My purple dot overlay was officially validated. Deeper purple equals a lucrative deal. Lighter purple means they are robbing you with a polite smile. The final tally hit 108 yuan for my haul, and 23 yuan for Harry's, leaving the big guy counting his money 3 times. With trembling hands, "Bro, this is more than my dad brings home in an entire month." Squatting casually by a fish pond on our way out, I just couldn't resist, flashing my thick wad of cash right at the pretty scam artist next door, while pointing straight at her chest. "Sister, your heart in there's looking mighty dark. Maybe slap some powder on it, since black really isn't your color." Her complexion instantly turned the shade of a stormy thundercloud. She aggressively crushed her sunflower seeds into dust, while failing to utter a single word back, because the entire market was watching closely. Ultimately, the wolf skins went for 70 yuan, and the pangolin scales brought in a cool 5 grand, bringing my total pocket cash to 212 yuan. Man, I felt loaded. Next came the supply run over at the official government store. Stepping right up to the counter, I spoke the magic words. No guy in rural China back in 1981 would ever dare utter those words out loud. "Comrade, do you happen to carry sanitary pads?" Staring straight through me with dead eyes, the saleswoman looked like she had just spotted growing horns. Like I'd grown antlers. A full-grown man buying these absolute essentials strictly for his wife. "Oh, for your wife." "Honestly, I figured they were for your personal stash," she scoffed. Leaning his massive frame right over my shoulder, Hodder poked his nose into the counter. "Bro, what are those? Is this some kind of weird party favor?" Without skipping a beat, I shoved his face aside. Outweighed outside shopping list. 6 packs of pads alongside 3 pairs of tiny, brightly colored plastic sandals. Red, yellow, and blue. 1 exact pair per kid, plus a stash of white rabbit candy. Brown sugar, fresh rice, and table salt. Essential soy sauce and various kitchen spices rounded things out. Then came the pharmacy run. Cough syrup specifically for my sick son. Fever medicine for Yuhi, iron supplements, and herbal tonics, bringing the total damage to 105 yuan spent, leaving me with another 105. Slapping his thigh hard as we walked back home, Hodder grinned from ear to ear. "Bro, your sisters-in-law are gonna low-key flip out with joy over this. Especially when they see those premium Annie Flow party supplies," he teased. "Mention Annie Flow one more time, and I'm throwing you straight into the nearest ditch." That casual banter abruptly ended the second we stepped foot into a total nightmare. 4 menacing figures were planted right in the middle of my yard. Leading the pack was Wong Matsi, the notoriously ruthless town loan shark, sporting a pockmarked face and a filthy shirt, while proudly flashing a yellowed, "I'll you bear my signature." "Pass me." My deadbeat brother had gambled away everything at this scumbag's table, leaving us in deep debt. Looming right behind him were 3 muscle-bound goons clutching wooden clubs, surrounding my terrified family. 3 goons with wooden clubs and my family. Standing her ground at the doorway with a heavy kitchen cleaver gripped tightly in her hand, Chun Yin was. Desperately shielding Yuhi and Wan Xiao behind her frame. Mom was trapped in the corner, blocked off by a raging thug losing his cool. Clinging tightly to Wan Xiao's legs were my 3 terrified young kids. Little Nian was sobbing uncontrollably. Baby Bao was shaking with pure terror, and 8-year-old Pampan stood silently without a single tear. Her face stark white as she courageously planted herself right in front of her siblings, with a sharpened wooden stick gripped in her small hand. This little girl, who usually avoided me like the plague, was fully prepared to throw down with grown men to protect her family. Licking his lips with a sickening grin, Wong Matsi eyed my wife up and down. Can't pay up in cash? Fine. Just hand over one of these fine ladies to me for 3 months, and we'll call it even. Touch even a single finger of hers, and I'll chop it. Chunyin shrieked, wildly swinging the cleaver. That exact moment was when I finally stepped through the gate, feeling every drop of blood in my veins turn to ice. Wong Matsi, you miserable piece of trash, you actually dare lay a hand on my women? Looking to get yourself killed? He smirked. Oh look, the broke deadbeat finally crawled back. Hand over the 100 yuan right now, or pay the price with your family. Without wasting a breath, I lunged forward, grabbed his wrist, and wrenched it violently backward. As he let out a piercing shriek, his 3 goons instantly rushed forward. Sidestepping the first incoming swing, I delivered a brutal, lightning-fast punch straight to the temple of goon number 1, dropping him instantly. Before the second guy could blink, I drove my boot so hard into his gut that he flew backward straight into our concrete water tank, completely shattering it. Paralyzed by pure shock at the absolute carnage unfolding before him, goon number 3 froze dead in his tracks, giving me just enough time to sweep him off his feet in under 7 seconds flat. With 3 unconscious thugs littering the ground and Wong Matsi's brain completely freezing up in disbelief, I casually pulled out a crisp stack of 100 yuan, counted it out deliberately, and slammed it right across his face. Paid in full, you scumbag. Now hand over that IOU immediately. Shaking like a leaf, he meekly handed the paper over. Right in front of his wide, terrified eyes, I ripped the document into tiny confetti pieces, before casually picking up one of their discarded wooden clubs, and my bare hands easily snapped it right down the middle. Your legs are getting broken if you ever step foot on my property again. Leaving his cash behind, Wong Matsu instead chose to gather his battered cronies and scurry away from my yard. A heavy, pin-drop silence fell over the yard. Staring eyes from my family locked onto me as if I were a total stranger. Not that they could recognize this upgraded version of me anyway. Frozen in place, everyone in the courtyard stood motionless, akin to someone having slammed down the pause button. Mom, 3 wives alongside 3 kids, all kept gazing at me like an absolute alien dropped out of the sky. For guys had just been taken down by me in 7 seconds flat, while my breathing remained completely relaxed and steady. Having served as a veteran soldier and a former bodyguard, those pathetic clowns were literally nothing to worry about. Peeking his head inside, Horror piped up, bro. The whole thing is already done, so shut your trap and haul the bags in. Unloading gear commenced like a stressed-out Santa Claus having a meltdown. A solid 100 pounds of premium white rice was pulled out, leaving behind that watery corn slop for good. Red sugar, salt, and various spices came next, followed by some cough medication for my boy, along with fever herbs specifically meant for Yuhi. Brand new plastic sandals in red, yellow, and blue for the 3 kids. Brightly colored footwear tailored for their little feet. A couple of bags filled with white rabbit candy emerged too, capped off by the grand finale featuring 6 packs of sanitary pads. Displaying everything across the ground like a bustling market stall was done deliberately. Holding their breath, not a single soul dared to move an inch. Arriving late on the scene, the village chief showed up backed by reinforcements, asking where Wong Matsu could possibly have vanished to. Taking care of business was my brief reply. Completely by yourself? Yep, exactly. Shifting his gaze toward the massive pile of supplies, the chief looked back and forth between me and Mom, noting how Sister Day's son had clearly undergone a major transformation, making her a very fortunate woman indeed, while one of his henchmen, honestly, kept staring hungrily at the white rabbit candy without blinking, swallowing hard as his throat bobbed up and down repeatedly, until he practically had to be dragged away by force. Demanding a strict accounting of every single penny, Mom interrogated me, giving a thorough explanation for everything ensued, with Horror eagerly jumping in to back up my story, swearing it was all true because Brogel's combat technique was low-key insane, way more impressive than my old man during his prime days. Shooting a piercing glare straight at him worked instantly, forcing him to swallow the remainder of that sentence like a heavy rock. Stepping slowly toward the oversized sack of rice, Mom approached, testing the texture by rolling the grains between her calloused fingers, confirming it was genuinely authentic white rice, free from cheap cornmeal or rough black bread. Reddening visibly, her eyes welled up, prompting her to spin around and dry them quickly with her sleeve. Keeping her voice as unyielding as iron, she muttered, "Fine. At least it wasn't acquired through thievery." Stop standing around like statues and haul this stuff inside right now. Unless you guys actually want flies swarming around. Such tough talk being classic mom language for crying tears of joy, though she would rather pass away than openly admit it. Subsequently unfolding right after was the sanitary pad ceremony. Walking directly over to you first, 2-packs were placed into her hands. These belong to you, so stop utilizing those unsanitary cloth bags, since they are literally making you sick. Trembling so violently across all 10 fingers, she nearly dropped the items entirely, leaving her mouth hanging open and shut like a gasping fish. While speaking no words at all, 2 additional packs were then handed over to want you with the remark, yours. Wait, do I get some too? You're definitely my number 1 wife, obviously. Shifting my focus toward the stacked rice bags, I deliberately strolled right past Chunyin. 3, 2, 1. Eliu. B.I. There it is. What about me? You want some? Go ahead and grab some. Why wouldn't I? Music to my ears, man. The final 2 packs were pulled out by me, and I dangled them right in front of her face. I was practically waiting for you to ask. A whirlwind of 5 distinct realization stages swept across her face. You totally did that on purpose, you jerk. As she lunged forward to grab them, I hoisted them high above my head. Stretching up on her tiptoes, she pounced just as I stepped back. Losing my balance completely, I reached out to grab her waist instinctively, so that neither of us would faceplant into the dirt. Except my hand happened to land somewhere. It really had no business landing. Both of us froze solid, and the entire yard fell dead silent. Glancing down at my hand first, Chunyin then looked straight up into my eyes. Chunyin, I swear I didn't mean clap, 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 clap. Hawker suddenly burst in a loud applause. Whoa, bro. Are you guys wrestling? I want to play too, sister-in-law. Let me get hugged next. A vicious kick to his backside was delivered by me, sending him stumbling 3 heavy steps forward. Did he get mad? Absolutely not. He just turned around with a wide grin. Bro, that's seriously selfish. You get to hug her, but nobody else get to turn? Say one more word and, I'm just saying, man, your technique is way cleaner than my old man's. Whenever my dad smacks my mom's backside, his form is nowhere near this smooth. Dead silence hung in the air before Mom let out a snort. Wancho turned away with his shoulders shaking. Dude, she was so red, she looked like she was about to combust. Chunyin's face cycled rapidly through red, deep purple, and finally a blazing nuclear crimson. Get the hell out of my yard. Hawker bolted toward the gate, shouting back over his shoulder. Take your time with sister-in-law, no rush. Seriously. I'll go ask my dad if he knows any other good moves. A shoe was hurled at his head by me, resulting in a direct hit. Bro, what was that for? What did I even say? Snatching her 2 packs furiously, Chunyin stormed inside the house. Touch me inappropriately one more time, and I'll chop your hands off. Slam. A sharp smack to the back of my head was delivered by Mom, just standing there looking like a total clown. Where's the kid's stuff? Handing out the shoes quickly, I sneaked a sideways glance up at Chunyin's window. She was sitting right on her bed, turning those 2 packs over and over while reading every single word printed on the packaging. And she quickly shoved them deep under her pillow, sat there for a second, lifted the pillow to verify they were still there, dropped it back down, and muttered to herself, what kind of weirdo man goes out and buys sanitary pads? Totally shameless. Oof. She checked underneath the pillow one more time. Yep, still there. Meanwhile, out on some dusty road heading into town, Wong Motzi was limping away alongside his battered goons, massaging his throbbing wrist with a grimace. He shot a venomous glare back toward my front porch. Luby, you'll pay for this. Yeah. Take a number, buddy. Get in line behind my trio of ex-wives. My mom and my 8-year-old daughter, armed with a sharpened stick. They've been gunning for me all week, dropping 3 pairs of fresh sandals down before my kids. I offered a peace offering, red for Pampan, yellow for Nyen, and blue for Bao. Pampan wouldn't even deign to look at them, while little Nyen hid securely behind her big sister. If Sissy says no, I say no. Little Bao peeked at the blue pair for a fleeting second, then snapped his feet back under his stool, as if those shoes might actually bite him. 3 brand new shoes, 3 kids, and absolutely 0 takers until Pampan delivered the knockout blow. Today it's shoes, tomorrow it's a beating. You gave Bao a Candyman once. The next day, you dragged him off the bed and threw him outside, because his coughing was annoying. She paused as the chilly snowflakes drifted down outside, pausing again to add that he had run a fever for 3 whole days. Memory flashed back to my intoxicated former self. who had tossed a 4-year-old out into the freezing midnight snow, just because his hacking cough was disturbing my hangover. A neighbor eventually spotted the kid half frozen at midnight. While heading to the outhouse, meaning my 8-year-old daughter, had just cross-examined me. With more brutal precision than any defense attorney on earth, I stood defenseless before jury, composed of my mom and 3 wives, where the whole universe unanimously found me guilty. Mom scooped up the rejected shoes, rounded up the kids, and shot me a heavy look that clearly stated, "Slow down. You can't erase years of absolute trash behavior in a single afternoon." The message landed hard, right before a piercing scream rang out from the backyard. "Bauer, what's wrong?" My poor son was choking, and it wasn't just a regular cough. He was gasping for air, turning blue with purple lips, and a face draining completely white, while his little chest heaved like a sputtering engine. Mom broke down crying with trembling hands, and Chun-Yin burst into the room, spotted her struggling boy, turned ghost white, and shoved him directly into my arms. "What are you standing there for?" Snatch him up immediately, I bolted toward the village clinic, only to find Pan blocking the front gate with her arms spread wide, standing her ground like an unyielding human barricade. "Where are you taking my brother?" "To the clinic. He desperately needs a doctor." "Why are you going to sell him for gambling money?" "Some deadbeat dad in the next village actually pulled that stunt. You think I'm stupid?" The poor girl genuinely believed I was going to sell my own flesh and blood, which is the stellar reputation my past self had built. This kid truly thought her father would trade her little brother for poker chips. Dropping down to her eye level under the pale afternoon light, I pleaded, Pan, I was a monster and I own every bit of it. But right now your brother cannot breathe, and I'm rushing him to the doctor. I promise you on my life, I'll bring him back." She stood frozen for a second, then finally stepped aside. "Fine. Stick close to me and watch everything unfold. Should I mess anything up, bolt back home and fill Grandma in. Let your Aunt Chun-Yin know too. They have full permission to beat me senseless." Gazing down at Bao's pale, bluish complexion, she made up her mind. It was a deal. "But you better run if you're trying to play me." I was already tearing down the path. On her stubby little legs, she scrambled to keep up with me. Right there at the clinic, elderly Dr. Joe quickly hooked Bao up with an injection and in 4. As the needle went in, my poor boy burst into tears and clutched tightly at my collar. Pulling him close, I gently stroked his back. Pan remained planted in the doorway the whole time. She refused to step a single foot across the threshold. Her eyes were glued strictly to my face, not checking on her brother at all, just watching me like a hawk. She was making sure I didn't try any shady moves. Once the 4 finished, Bao's breathing finally steadied out. The purple tint vanished from his skin as he drifted off to sleep, his tiny fist still locked firmly onto my collar. On our trek back home, Pan marched right behind me at a distance of precisely 5 steps. Not a single word left her mouth. She just stared silently. Back at the house, I got straight to cooking, whipping up a batch of braised pangolin meat. I loaded it up with sugar because the kids always prefer things sweet. Chun-Yin strutted into the kitchen, acting like a harsh health inspector. Way too much oil and not nearly enough salt. Cut the pieces smaller next time. Her mouth didn't stop nitpicking for a second, even though her chopsticks never stopped shoveling food in. Unsurprisingly, there was still no chair at the table for me. I remained out under the eaves, squatting down with my bowl. Through the open doorway, I watched them happily devour the meal. Nian's face lit up with pure joy. Bao managed to polish off 2 pieces alongside his porridge. And even Pan completely wiped her plate clean, while pretending she wasn't enjoying a single bite. Later, while I was scrubbing dishes by the old water tank, I heard footsteps approach as Pan stopped just 3 paces away, clutching the leftover half of a black bread bun. "I'm stuffed, and this definitely isn't meant for you. I just hate letting food go to waste." Without sparing me a glance, she tossed it onto the dirt and walked off. I picked it up from the ground immediately. 2 tiny teeth marks were clearly visible, showing where she had bitten off precisely half, and saved the rest just for me. It was stiff as a rock and felt as rough as sandpaper, scraping painfully down my throat as I swallowed. Yet, it was hands down the best thing I'd ever tasted. Then, because the universe apparently refuses to give me a break, some scrawny guy from the neighborhood suddenly appeared at my front gate. I knew exactly who he was. The very same dude who'd been eyeing my white rabbit candy earlier. Flashing a greasy, knowing smile, he squatted down right in front of me. "Hey, brother. Word on the street is you're flashing some cash lately. The boys are getting a card game together tonight over at Old Joe's place, and everyone's been asking about you. Care to roll through and join the action?" Talk about bad timing. It showed up right on schedule, like clockwork. The old version of me would have bolted out that door before he even finished his sentence. Instead, the new me just stared back at this clown, glanced down at the half-eaten bun resting in my palm, and thought about those two tiny little teeth marks, and that skinny guy's greedy candy stare from earlier. A crumpled cigarette dangling from his lips and a greasy smirk spread across his face. He materialized right at my threshold. Listen up, Brother Liu Bei. The boys have had a poker session going down at old Joe's joint. Everyone's sitting around waiting on you. His name had completely slipped my mind until Chun-Yun burst out of her doorway and screamed it out for me. Fanny, are you? Get out of here, two dogs. Nickname, two dogs. And just like that, my memories snapped back into place like a loaded firearm. This absolute lowlife was the total snake, who had slowly slithered past me and dragged me straight into this gambling hell. It started out small with just 50 cents, then a single yuan, and then higher, escalating until I was glued to Wong Matsie's table, frittering away my family's grocery money. Every single catastrophe from my past life had this absolute rat's fingerprints all over it. Flashing a cocky smirk, he waved Chun-Yun away. Sister-in-law, you and Liu Bei are officially divorced now. So what he does isn't really your business anymore, is it? Oof, right in the feels. Chun-Yun's cheeks flashed a furious crimson, her knuckles brushing against the heavy walking stick by the door. Before she forced her fingers to uncurl, he was legally right, leaving her with zero legal standing. Without dropping another word, she slammed her front door shut in disgust. Honestly, that was brutal to witness. I'm not going anywhere, I told him. Two dogs stared back, utterly convinced he misheard me. Huh, I've quit gambling for good, so go roll the dice by yourself. A heavy, awkward silence stretched as he stared me down. Then he broke into a laugh. Come on, bro. I know you're just dropping an act. I'm dead serious. Now bounce. The mirth vanished from his face. Leaning in close, he immediately flipped the switch to full blackmail mode. Remember that messy night you got hammered and spilled every single secret to me about what goes down behind closed doors with your three wives? Every position, every breathless sound. I've got all the juicy details, my man. Either you show up to play cards or you hand over some of that precious white rabbit candy and raw rice. Or else, I'm broadcasting your whole diary to the entire village. Just picture how they'll look at your women after that. A triumphant, smug grin spread across his face as he leaned back. Keeping my eyes glued to the dirt, I stayed completely silent. He genuinely thought he broke me. Wham! A solid wooden bench shattered violently right across his shoulder blade. He collapsed onto the dirt, looking like a discarded bag of trash. Say that shit again, scrambling back up while screeching in pain. He snatched up a heavy stool and swung it wildly at my head. Goo! Back in my actual prime, I wrestled massive wild boars across the African bush and stared down starving lions deep in Siberia. To my battle-hardened eyes, this clown was moving in ultra-slow motion. I effortlessly slapped the stool right out of his grasp, then delivered a vicious kick to his gut, with enough force to fold him double like a deflated shrimp. Get lost. Lying flat on his back, he pointed a shaky finger at me with his one functional arm. You're going to seriously regret crossing me, Liu Bei. He then crab-walked backward out through my gate, which seemed to be the signature exit strategy for all my guests today. Apparently, Chun-Yun had been watching from the shadows, stepping forward first. You're really not going with him? Like I told you, I'm done for good. We are permanently finished. If that parasite ever shows his face here again, just beat him down. Crossing her arms tightly, her eyes narrowed into sharp slits, switching straight into full detective mode. You two totally orchestrated this, didn't you? Some good cop routine, huh? You act like a reformed criminal, playing the classic bad cop routine. Our guard gets completely dropped, only for you to sneak out and loot everything we own later, just to fund one reckless gamble. Do you really take me for someone who hasn't streamed this flick before? She wasn't even tripping for suspecting that. My past self had low-key pulled this exact stunt once. For 2 whole weeks, I faked going clean. Then, waiting until Mom finally chilled out, I swiped 3 months' worth of egg money and headed straight to the casino floor. So yeah, fair enough. You'll eventually buy my story. Eventually? Who's even talking about stepping a single foot outside? Chun-Yun spun around with a triumphant smirk. Catch that? He just claimed he cut ties with those 2 clowns. Yet the guy is already back. Called it. They're definitely in cahoots. Mom raised her hand, ready to smack me across the face. I actually believed you turned a new leaf, you little bee. Bro. Horror burst breathlessly through the wooden gate. Everyone froze in place while Chun-Yun blinked, letting out an "Oh, it's you. It's me." Tonight's a full moon. My dad says the mountain trails are lit up clear as day. So let's go hunting. Chun Yun's facial expressions were buffering through multiple software updates. Night hunting? Are both of your brains completely fried? Meanwhile, inner peace washed over me as I exhaled the biggest sigh of relief. Across 2 lifetimes. Horror, my brother, my gorgeous, absolute idiot. Of a perfectly timed brother. They say guys have 3 categories of ride-or-die companions. Comrades you've gone to war with, mates you've caught peeking at the neighbor's wife while she bathes, and cellmates you've done hard prison time with. Horror and I had the first 2 checked off. And right now, that guy's timing was literally priceless. Horror had just leaked intel about 10 villagers, plotting a group hunting expedition, headed by some clown named Fan Sherbet. My brain did the math instantly. 10 people, 1 deer, meaning everyone gets a microscopic bite-sized scrap. Plus, get this. This Fan Sherbet character was basically the village's undisputed #1 peeping Tom, infamous for spying on women washing clothes. He almost slammed right into a tree while fleeing from a widow's bathroom window. How down bad do you honestly have to be? Just the 3 of us, I told him, you, me, and your dad. No circus crew involved. He thumped his chest proudly and sprinted back home. Mom was naturally stressing out. Night hunting in pitch-black mountains? What if I slipped off a cliff, or a tiger made a meal out of me? Or the hunting rifle blew up in my face? I pulled up a seat for her, laying out the family budget, like a stressed-out corporate accountant. Mom, I handed Wong Matsu 100 yuan today alone, and Bao's doctor visit ran us 5 yuan. We've got 8 mouths to feed here. Rice costs a fortune. Bao still needs ongoing meds. You're still recovering, and Yin's shirt has 7 patches on it. I counted them out, adding that the firecracker side hustle was way too dangerous. Way too dangerous. I'm banning everyone from touching gunpowder ever again. Then, I dropped the absolute ultimate bombshell. Mom, I want to build us a brand new house. Dead silence filled the room. Every single flaw in our current rundown dump was pointed out by me, starting with those windows featuring 3 holes, and the west wall cracked wide enough to shove a fist right through, plus roof tiles that literally crumble in your hands. Summer is totally fine, but when winter hits, this place basically turns into a literal freezer. No way our lungs can survive another freezing season in here, honestly. Mom's weary gaze drifted toward the cracks, and those broken tiles before sliding back to me. She brought up Dad, and how fixing up this house was his lifelong dream, before a workplace accident took him too soon. Her voice suddenly cracked, terrified that I would push too hard and end up just like him. Wrapping my arms around her tight, I whispered, Mom, that's literally why I've got to make this happen. Dad wanted it his whole life and never got the chance. Being his son, if I pull off what he started, he'll finally rest easy, right? Her sleeve came up to wipe away moisture from her eyes, pretending something had just flown into them. Fine, but don't go killing yourself over it. Taking your time is totally okay. Leaning in close then, my real master plan was whispered into her ear. Mom, just think about it for a second. I build a gorgeous house, and all 3 Ys move right in. They'll be happy while the kids watch things finally level up. They'll warm up to me, and maybe in a couple of years down the line, we'll add a few more grandkids. Mom's eyes went completely wide, before she burst out laughing and playfully poked my forehead. You absolute rascal. You finally grew some brains. Channeling a military general instantly, she commanded. Listen up. All 3 of those girls are genuinely good women. Don't play favorites, and make sure you lock all 3 down. Each one can gift you 2 more kids easily. That's 6 plus the 3 you already have, giving you a total of 9 grandchildren. Our Liu family is going to completely dominate this village. 9 kids, she actually wanted 9. She was low-key enrolling me in some kind of elite breeding program. At this rate, I'm not even a human man, just a prize stud horse. Honestly, though, I totally got her point. Our family name happens to be Liu, in a village where 90% of the population is named Fan, making us total outsiders. Dad always said on someone else's turf. You either stack cash or multiply your numbers. We possessed neither advantage. So keeping our heads down became our survival strategy our whole lives. Memory of that advice sparked her desire for an army of grandchildren. I'll do my absolute best, Mom. With an approving nod, she looked like an absolute terrifying woman. My gear was prepped, including shotgun ammo, a lantern, and a sturdy rope before marching for the gate. Right in my path stood Chun Yin, blocking the way. What were you whispering to Mom about just now? You'll find out later, but I want to know right now. If I tell you, it won't be a surprise anymore. Who even cares about your silly surprises? Just spill it. Okay, fine, you win. I'll sneak into your room tonight after I'm done hunting and whisper every single detail real slow. Her face cycled through about 17 different colors of rage. You absolute shameless creep. Who asked you into my room? Fine then. Keep your secrets and don't dare come home empty-handed. Bam! Watching her storm off angrily brought a huge grin to my face. Just you wait, spicy lady. The moment that brand new house is built, we'll test how long that tough mouth of yours can hold out. Because when night falls, I'm going to melt that attitude completely. Back at the house shortly after I left. Apparently a whole drama session just went down out of nowhere. Wancho turned to Chunyin with a question, demanding why she hadn't stopped me from heading out night hunting. Shuyin fired right back with an attitude, asking who she even was to try stopping me, letting out that if he wants to crash and burn, let him. Yet she still drifted over to check on Sleeping Bao, only to spot the cough syrup bottle I'd copped earlier, pushed right underneath his blanket, which triggered memories of me sprinting like a madman to the dock, clutching him tightly as if my own existence hung in the balance. For a solid 0.3 seconds a stray thought crossed her mind, wondering if I'd genuinely turn a new leaf, before she instantly shook it off, calling it total nonsense, convinced it was just another one of my classic plays, while my inner self flat out refused to buy her denial, proving denial really ain't just some river in Egypt. Meanwhile, I rendezvoused with Uncle Shuangju under a gloomy vibe, by the ancient tree standing guard at the village entrance. Shuangju dropped the bomb on me. That Fansure Bai's hunting crew had ballooned to a massive 17 folks. 17 people calling that a hunt is a total joke, since it looks more like a full-blown parade. Every single deer within a 5-mile radius could hear them stomping up, and would definitely file a formal noise complaint. We're just rolling with 3 guys, I confirmed before we pushed toward the mountain trails, only to stumble right into a circus acting up at the trailhead, with 17 dudes just chilling around puffing on cigs, yapping loudly and practically mailing out a formal RSVP invitation to every wild creature within hearing distance, screaming, "Dear wildlife, please pack up and evacuate ASAP." Signed sincerely, a bunch of absolute clowns, led by the ringleader himself, Fan Sherbei, sitting in his late 20s with aggressive eyebrows, a flashy rifle, and a massive ego, functioning as the village's premier neighborhood watch creep. And the exact second his eyes locked onto me, his face warped into the most obnoxious smirk I've ever witnessed. Well, look who decided to show up, Luby. Are you here to ride my coattails today? Or perhaps just planning to scoop up whatever scraps I happen to leave behind, so you can flex in front of your 3 wives back home? Bursts of laughter erupted from his crew, with Jiao, the 6-fingered guy, chiming in about how Lu Bai is an absolute genius, who literally does nothing yet still picks up free leftovers, and somehow manages to keep 3 gorgeous women waiting at his pad, while hardworking dudes like them can't even lock down a single one. Where's the justice in that, accompanied by more jeering claps, leaving 17 pairs of eyes locked on me, dripping with pure, unfiltered envy? Now here's the hilarious background on Fan Sherbei. He's supposedly hailed as the sharpest shooter around these parts, yet he ended up marrying a very plain-looking woman, and it absolutely kills him from the inside out that a notorious gambling deadbeat, somehow scored 3 drop-dead gorgeous wives, who stubbornly refused to leave my house even after divorcing me. Fair point, to be completely honest. Even I can't wrap my head around that logic. But I definitely wasn't down to entertain his toxic garbage tonight. Shiba, you honestly think I need your flashlight to get any hunting done? You gotta be kidding me. You've been tracking game for years, and yet your whole squad moves through the dense woods, sounding like a chaotic marching band. You could literally be the greatest marksman on planet Earth, and it wouldn't mean a thing when every living animal within a 3-mile radius has already packed their metaphorical bags and vanished, simply because your boys sound like an amateur drum circle. 6 fingers suddenly stepped in, warning everyone to watch their language. Shiba's accuracy is second to none out here. Without even glancing at him, I fired back. Did I ask for your opinion? My gaze remained fixed on Shiba, and let's keep it real. This whole confrontation isn't about hunting. You're just triggered because I managed to marry 3 gorgeous women, while you're stuck going home to, well, let me ask you this. Does your wife know you barely last 3 seconds? Hold on, my bad. 3 seconds might actually be being way too generous. Screaming that he'd kill me, Sherbei grabbed his firearm and rushed forward. People shouted out in panic, and Shuangju instantly grabbed my arm. Old Tan freaked out too, though way too late. All of that didn't matter, because before Shiba could even take 2 steps, The barrel of my shotgun was already pressed flush against his forehead from just a single foot away. My trigger finger hovered in place, ready, with my eyes as calm as a lake on a completely windless day. Go ahead, Sheba, make a move. Let's find out who's faster, you or my bullet. Those 17 men fell dead silent. Even the crickets stopped making any noise. A gust of wind blew past, causing the torch flame to flicker, and not a single soul dared to breathe. Yeah, welcome to the brand new Luby era, boys. I squeezed the trigger halfway down, delivering just a tiny click, but in that profound silence, it echoed like a clap of thunder. Sheba's pupils instantly contracted down to tiny pinpoints. Old Tan threw a bear hug around my arm, screaming in sheer panic. Ancestor, my dear ancestor, are you actually about to blast his son away? Meanwhile, Six Fingers dragged Sheba backward by his collar, treating him like a glitchy, malfunctioning shopping cart. Then came the absolute best part. Haru picked up a stray gun, aiming it right at Sheba's group, his eyes blown wide as dinner plates, and a massive, unhinged grin spread across his face. Bro, I'll gladly help out. Everyone froze in place, myself included, while Uncle Shuangju's face drained completely white, then turned green, and finally shifted into a shade that definitely doesn't exist in nature. He smacked Hodder right across the head so hard that the kid stumbled forward and dropped the weapon to the ground. But Dad, I was just trying to help. Help? If someone gets killed here, Luby goes straight to federal prison. You get locked up too, and both of our families are totally finished. Hodder just blinked, looking completely clueless. Wait, for real? He had genuinely never once considered the simple fact that murdering someone might actually have consequences. Shuangju looked down at his own crotch area in dread, then glanced back at his son, and I could literally see him in real time, questioning every single life choice that ever led to this kid's existence. The vein on his temple was working out harder than a cardio session. And then Haru decided to drop a total nuclear bomb. If Dad tries to hit me again, I'm gonna blast his baby-making equipment off with a rapid-fire rat-a-tat-ta. Even if the whole thing explodes, I'm just gonna keep right on shooting. Shuangju stared blankly down at his own lower region, then back at his boy as I watched his soul literally exit his body. He's mine. He's my own flesh and blood. I created him, so I just gotta endure this nightmare. Physically clamping my hand over Howard's mouth, I dragged him quickly up the mountain path. Before his father could commit actual filicide, Sheba threw out one final parting shot as he was hauled away. Luby, if you come crawling back down empty-handed tonight, I'm gonna roast you so hard, buddy. Better save up that energy. We're gonna need every bit of it. Taking the East Trail was our play. Steering clear of that noisy 17-man parade, we plunged deep into the dense, dark woods. An hour in, my red dot HUD suddenly flared to life. Through the pitch-black shadows, a soft heat signature was pulsing. We're crossing past 3 Mile Slope. That's straight-up danger zone territory. Shuangju threw out a tense warning. Folks head in there and pretty much never make it back out. Hort shoved right past him, shouting, Dad and I hit this spot last time and made it out totally fine. Stop being such a coward. It was zero hassle, so quit acting like a scaredy cat. As Hor yanked me forward along the path, a fuming Shuangju just stood there frozen under the dark canopy. He ended up hustling right after us, though, because, well, his idiot son was wandering deeper into danger. Hacking through heavy brush, we finally crested the high ridge. The oppressive tree-line gave way, opening up into a serene, moonlit meadow. Hor gasped, nearly dropping his lantern right into the grass. Basking right in the middle, bathed in shimmering silver light, stood a beast straight out of an ancient myth. It was a rare Chinese sorrow, this bizarre hybrid-looking creature, like it couldn't figure out if it wanted to be a horse, a deer, a goat, or a donkey. It sported an insanely massive, gorgeous reddish-gray coat, topped with a striking white mane, hands down the rarest target on Big Blue Mountain. Its meat is so ridiculously tender, it's basically pure legend around here. Shuangju was straight up hyperventilating right beside us. Then, because the universe absolutely refuses to hand out easy WS, a wild flock of goats came bursting out from the tree line. The sudden noise spooked it, snapping the sorrow's head up instantly. It's about to bolt. That thing's gonna run. Hor waved his arms in panic, while Shuangju just let out a heavy groan. It's way too far, at least 150 paces. Pitch black out, ancient gun. That shot is literally impossible. Bang! My trigger was pulled before he could finish, locking the sorrow mid-stride. Its front knees completely gave out, and it collapsed heavily into the tall grass like a falling stone statue. A single bullet at 150 paces on a moving target. In complete darkness, instant drop. Shuangju's wooden pipe tumbled straight out of his mouth. With trembling hands, he stood bewildered, 20 years of packing a rifle. And he had never witnessed marksmanship like that in his entire life. Hor was already sprinting wild across the moonlit field, howling at the top of his lungs like a wolf. While I calmly reloaded, walking behind me, Shuangju scooped his pipe off the ground with shaky fingers, gazing at me like I just pulled a whole rabbit out of Top Hat. Only the rabbit was a 200-pound mythical beast, and the Top Hat was pure, pitch-black night. Is this kid possessed or something? No, uncle. Just reborn into this life with straight cheat codes. This Enro was an absolute unit, 150 pounds of pure, prime meat, packed with fat and solid muscle, causing Hor to immediately start running the numbers in his head. Bro, that's worth more than my dad brings home in 3 whole months. Congrats, man. Looks like you can finally do basic math. Hey, I've always been good at math. Highly debatable. Suddenly, my red dot vision pinged a fresh target. Something was lurking just 60 paces out, shrouded completely behind dense bushes where my eyes couldn't spot it. Not that visual line of sight mattered. The faint rustling was all I needed to hear before, bang, a sharp shriek echoed out from behind the brush. Shuangju's jaw dropped so low. An entire family of birds could have built a cozy nest in there. He was desperately trying to process how on earth I'd pulled off hitting a target that was literally invisible to the naked eye. You could practically see his internal monologue, floating right over his head like a cartoon text bubble. No freaking wonder this kid locked down 3 wives. The guy literally never misses a target. And then there's me. Been out here, grinding for months, just trying to make baby number 2, putting in max effort every single night. Man, youth is totally wasted on the young. Their bullet precision is just straight up superior. Crashing through the thick brush, Harrow screamed out loud. A deer, a literal girl deer. A quick visual check confirmed 0 antler equipment downstairs. Female it is, then Harrow. Hit me with this absolute gem, bro. When you remarry your wives and have that special wedding night, you gotta invite me, like why? So I can watch and learn because your aim is insanely legendary. There's gotta be a secret technique. Come on, teach me some of your moves. The dude actually wanted to spectate my wedding night like it was an M.I.S. D.R.C.L. A.S.S. Me and my wife performing live on stage, while Harrow sits quietly in the corner, taking frantic notes like a hyper-diligent student. Am I a husband here, or just a nude figure model for art class? Sure, I responded with total deadpan. There's a tuition fee, you know, how much? The guy actually asked how much. Words failed me completely as my brain short-circuited. Instantly, another glowing red dot appeared. Down the slope came a buck trotting casually. Young, small antlers just barely starting to bud. Without a second of hesitation, bang, it went down. 3 shots fired, 3 animals claimed. Half an hour elapsed, and every single one was a kill shot. Inspecting the buck, Harrow hollered back, Byro. We got the husband and the wife right here. You think they were on a little date? I kept completely silent, listening to him ramble. When I finally get myself a girlfriend, I swear, I'm bringing her to the deep forest for a date too. It's going to be so amazingly thrilling. And afterwards, I'll be just like you, legend. Every single shot hits, and I'll make 3 babies. This guy's entire brain runs on literally one single channel, broadcasting the exact same program 24/7, dragging all our heavy loot back to Shuangju. The old man glanced up at the bright moon, then stared down at the 3 massive carcasses lying there, his mind visibly buffering. 3 shots, 3 kills, all executed in pitch-black darkness. Every single one piercing vital organs flawlessly. In 20 solid years of hunting experience, he had never witnessed anything remotely like this. Even Sherbei, the village's undisputed sharpshooter, only ever hit 6 or 7 out of 10 attempts, while here I was batting a clean 1,000. I could literally see the burning question forming inside his head. When on earth did this gambling deadbeat learn to snipe? Like a Navy SEAL, he told me quietly, Luby, look after Harrow. The boy's not the brightest, but he's dead honest and hardworking, so genuinely touching. Moving right along, Harrow practically begged for the next shot. I gave him the green light as we spotted a hedgehog curled in the grass. Pointing downward, I gestured the low target. Make sure you shoot right near the ground. Creeping forward carefully, Harrow took aim. 1 deep breath and bang. The tiny hedgehog instantly flipped over, dead on arrival. BRO. I actually hit it. I totally nailed it. Am I not just amazing? holding that hedgehog high over his head like a championship trophy. He shouted, "When my future wife finds out, she'll know I'm a sniper." What wife? Where's she even hiding? She's probably an inflatable fantasy living rent-free in a parallel universe. A snappy comeback crossed my mind, but nah, let's pass. The guy deserves to have his little moment. One more glowing red dot. A bushy-tailed squirrel clung to a pine trunk, nervously snacking on a cone. It was a tiny target, so I locked my crosshairs right on the skull. That fur needed to stay pristine. Boom! Instant drop, clean headshot secured. The pelts were untouched as Horror walked over and scooped it up. He turned to face me, and man, his look had totally shifted. Pure, all was completely gone from his eyes. Instead, he wore the exact expression people pull when they're gazing up at a massive temple shrine. Somehow, I had just leveled up to his personal deity. Let's roll out. We've racked up enough WS for the night. Final scoreboard, 1-0. 150 pounds of venison, 1 graceful doe, 1 solid buck, 1 spiky hedgehog, 1 squirrel down, 5 shots total expended, 5 clean kills, 0 misses on the board. Not a bad flex for a supposedly dead guy, who had just been shoved off a naked woman's stomach. Just yesterday morning. Horror was currently arguing with himself over whether to snack on the hedgehog or the squirrel first, when my thermal scope suddenly went completely berserk. For distinct red blips lit up, darting around and charging straight toward us at breakneck speed. The damp earth started vibrating underfoot. A quartet of aggressive wild boars burst through the tree line, looking like raging, furry freight trains. Right at the front was a 200-pound absolute nightmare, featuring jagged tusks curling out of foaming maw and manic. Glowing red eyes fixed dead ahead. Close behind came 3 more beasts, churning up dead leaves like a miniature tornado, quickly shoving Horror behind a thick pine trunk. I snapped my rifle up, 80 paces out, closing the distance fast. Bang! The lead boar's massive head violently snapped sideways. Its front hooves plowed deep trenches into the soil, sending 200 pounds of prime pork sliding forward a couple steps, before collapsing hard in a chaotic cloud of thick mud and flying leaves. Panic instantly hit the remaining 3, scattering them deep into the dark timber. My barrel was just swinging over to track one of the fleeing targets, when, bang! A totally random shot echoed from the opposite direction, smacking straight into my freshly down boar's rear end. What a total waste of ammo, seeing as the thing was already a cold corpse. Emerging right out of the shadows came a voice I desperately wanted to choke out. "Yo boys, get over here quick. I just dropped a massive wild boar, the biggest one yet. Somebody help me haul this 200-pound beast back." Are you actually kidding me right now, Sheba? This absolute clown literally shot a dead pig in the ass, and was shamelessly claiming my hard-earned kill. His whole squad spilled out of the trees, waving burning torches, completely hyped up on main character energy. Sheba strutted right over to the carcass, acting like he had single-handedly conquered the Roman Empire. Then he caught sight of me, standing barely 10 paces away, my rifle barrel still wisping smoke. A fleeting flash of pure confusion crossed his face, before he spotted Horror holding a sad little hedgehog and squirrel, causing his obnoxious smirk to return at max capacity. "Oh, look everybody, it's Luby. Dragged yourself all the way out here in the dark just to bag a hedgehog and a rat. Man, I honestly feel so bad for your wives." Meanwhile, it took me just one single shot to drop a 200-pound monster. Now, that is actual skill. Sheba, your eyes must be totally fried, dude, because I smoked that boar. Planting his boot firmly right on top of my pig, he scoffed. "Oh yeah? Prove it then." My bullet's the one buried inside, and wilderness rules mean finders keepers. Whoever's round is inside it takes the prize, period. Its backside caught his slug. Mine landed right in its brain, but honestly, ballistics wasn't exactly this clown's superpower. Done arguing, I shoved him straight off the carcass. "You dare." He whipped his iron up to my temple. "Kneel and apologize, or your gray matter's painting the trees." 6 fingers lunged forward, sweeping his piece right at me too. "Yeah, kneel. Back down now." The old me might have actually caved. The old me was a total pushover under heat. The new me? I've locked eyes with lions in Africa. I've stared down savage grizzlies in Siberia, all by myself. Did these 2 local hillbillies with rusty shotguns really think they could faze me? In one smooth move, maybe 3 seconds tops, I caught Sheba's wrist, twisted it hard, snatched the weapon from his grip, and flipped it around. Suddenly, I held 2 guns, mine aimed at 6 Fingers' crotch, and is pointed right at his own face. Beads of cold sweat instantly popped across Sheba's forehead, staring straight down the barrel of his own piece. His brain was still trying to buffer. Get him, boys. Six Fingers shrieked, finally processing the situation. Two more thugs hoisted their barrels, for guns to R2. Then came Horror, glorious, beautifully unhinged, slam dunking the hedgehog and squirrel onto the dirt. He snatched his shotgun and locked dead center on his Six Fingers. Lower half. Anybody touches my bro, I'm blasting your family jewels off. You'll never walk right again. Six Fingers stammered. You absolute moron. Say that again. I said I'm blowing your nuts off. Want to test me, you little? One more word to my brother. I warned. Pivoting my barrel to track straight onto Six Fingers. Zipper with my finger twitching on the trigger. And I'm turning you into a choir boy right here, right now. Six Fingers locked eyes with me, dead serious. Whatever he read in my gaze made his throat bob up and down. 3 times. He swallowed every single comeback because he understood. He could feel it deep in his bones. I would 100% pull that trigger without a second thought. So there we stood. 6 firearms locked in a Mexican standoff on a Chinese peak. 2 versus 4 with Horror and me. Outnumbered. Outgunned, and giving 0 actual flips about it. The wind died down completely, the bugs stopped buzzing, and even the crickets went silent. As seconds drag on, here's the golden rule of standoffs. Numbers mean nothing when one squad is ready to flatline, while the other crew is sweating through their layers. Shiba's legs shook so violently that his kneecaps clacked together. Six Fingers was leaking. Enough forehead sweat to irrigate a whole rice field. Their 2 backup goons looked like they were seriously re-evaluating their life choices. Meanwhile, Horror was grinning. Actually grinning. Aiming his piece at Guy's most sensitive anatomy. With the carefree glee of a kid. Wielding a squirt gun. Gotta love this lunatic. The tension was about to snap like a cheap rubber band. With just a single sneeze or a nervous twitch. Some poor soul's ticket gets punched straight to the ER or the graveyard. Right then, Old Tan and his boy came crashing wildly through the underbrush. Caught sight of 6 firearms, all aimed dead at various vital body parts. And his knees just gave out. Sweet mother of God, nobody shoot. Everyone chill out right now and drop your weapons. As Old Tan scrambled to play peacemaker, inspecting the carcass, he checked the bore hole straight to the brain, which was mine, alongside a pathetic scratch down on the rump, where Shiba's lead pellet had landed. Well, after the beast was already stone cold. Everybody knows dead hogs don't bleed a single drop. So case closed. Yet did Shiba actually accept the verdict? Hell no. He started screaming right at Old Tan, the very guy who'd been helping him, calling him useless and threatening to beat him up too. Old Tan's expression instantly flipped from friendly to stone cold. Fine. Handle your own mess, he muttered, grabbing his son before walking off. Li Dazhuang quietly slid his machete back into its sheath and backed away too. Smart move on his part, seeing clearly that Shiba was a sinking ship, completely drunk on his own toxic delusion. Shiba made his final demand. Listen up, Luby. Either you shoot me right now, or get down on your knees. Count out loud 3 times. Call me Grandpa, and admit I bagged that boar. Bang! I squeezed the trigger without hesitation, kissing his left ear as the round flew past. Close enough to feel the scorching heat. Close enough to practically hear the almighty whisper. Not today. Every single human on that mountain froze solid. 6 Fingers' pistol clattered loudly against the dirt, his legs jittering like a sewing machine, while one of his backup cronies straight up, bolted for the safety of the thick forest. As for Shiba, his knees completely gave out beneath him, collapsing hard onto the dusty earth, with his eyes blown wide as the harvest moon. And then came the sound, a quiet, warm, spreading hiss. His crotch darkened rapidly as a puddle formed below, and the pungent stench of fresh urine wafted through the crisp mountain air, like the worst perfume on earth. Potter completely lost it, bro. Look at that. He actually peed his pants, haha. Man, it smells so damn bad. Blowing the wispy smoke from my barrel like an old-school cowboy. I glared down at him. You told me to shoot, so I shot. Where's your piece now, tough guy? Where'd all that big talk go? A grown man didn't even take a scratch, yet your trousers surrendered first. You don't hunt wild animals, Shiba. You just water them. Just stand out here in the woods for a minute, and the foul stench from your crotch will clear out every living creature within a mile radius. You don't even need bullets. Shiba's face flashed white, then red, then purple, looking like a mood ring having a full-blown seizure. He finally realized I'd never intended to kill him at all, just to toy with him publicly in front of everybody. Bounding back up to his feet, he shrieked, You played me. Shut your trap. Horror roared back fiercely. Dissing my bro again means I'll blast your nuts right off. And then I'll... He paused briefly to cook up his most devastating insult yet. Then to your wife's butt. Bang. I fired a second round right past Sheba's other ear. Down he slipped again, right into a bigger puddle, carrying a much fouler stench. Horror lay flat on the ground, pounding away at the damp earth with his fists. Hot tears streaming down his face, bro. He let loose in his pants for the third time. Fan Sheba shouldn't even be his name anymore. From now on, it's gotta be Fan Pee Pants haha. Did you share some of that pee with your wife too? 'Cause she won't have any left if you keep this up. Then I dropped the legal bomb. Sheba, let's have a quick recap. Horror is officially categorized as mentally impaired under the books. Every single villager knows he took a bad fall on his head as a kid. By law, any individual suffering from a mental disability who happens to harm or kill someone walks away completely free of criminal charges. He's legally certified, whereas you, on the other hand, are deemed a completely normal citizen if you lay a hand on him. That's assault, you pull a trigger on him. That's first-degree murder straight to the death penalty. Sheba's brain system error. Crash. Completely stopped responding while Hodder's brain cells suddenly went supernova. Wait a minute. Does that mean I'm a certified idiot? And idiots are legally allowed to take out people for free. What the heck have I even been stressing about then? He whipped his firearm straight up and bang. Fired. Shot number 3. Hodder's contribution bullet grazed right past Sheba's neck, coming close enough to singe the hairs on his skin. Sheba completely collapsed for the third time tonight. His trousers were now soaked so thoroughly they looked practically translucent from inside out. I was shaking and crying with pure laughter. 3 times in a row, a total hat trick of pee. Somebody please hook this guy up with a diaper. I snatched the gun right out of Har's hand, strolled over, and pressed the cold metal barrel firmly against Sheba's forehead, keeping it calm and steady. Weren't you just demanding that I kneel down and call you Grandpa? Say it again. The next bullet flying your way comes straight from our certified lunatic. He might have missed your sensitive spots this time around, but he definitely won't miss the next one. And under the law, absolutely nobody can touch him for it. Want to test your luck? I was totally wrong, man. That wild boar is yours. I didn't kill it all. You did. It belongs entirely to you guys. That confession was absolute music to my ears. I handed Har back his firearm. While he pouted like a kid, that's really it. We're just letting him off the hook like this, but hey, instructions were followed. I hoisted the massive boar up as Lida Zhuang came sprinting over to help. Let me give you a hand with that, old Tan, and his son quickly joined in too. In a split second, I had my own squad. We began marching down the mountain trail, feeling like conquering heroes. It was me, Har Shuangju, old Tan, his boy, and Li De Zhuang dragging along a sorrow. A pair of deer, a wild boar, a hedgehog, and a forest squirrel, leaving Sheba behind stranded right inside his own warm puddle of pee, his 6 fingers frozen stiff like a plastic mannequin, alongside 2 completely traumatized guys, who will probably never volunteer for a mountain hunt ever again. The cold moonlight bounced off Sheba's soaked pants, shining like a harsh spotlight on his total humiliation, gritting his teeth tightly while staring daggers at our retreating backs. Luby whore. Next time I cross paths with you guys, I'll make you piss 3 times instead. If I fail to do that, I swear I'll eat dog crap. Talk about some pretty bold declarations coming from a guy who is currently marinating in his own waste. Whatever floats your boat, shoot for the moon, buddy. Upon returning to Shuangju, hauling the massive boar back, Old Tan gazed upon the crowded hall and nearly passed out. 4 unlikes, 2 deer, 1 boar, along with a hedgehog and a squirrel, all neatly arranged as if a butcher shop had blown up. His son's jaw dropped wide enough to park a semi-truck inside. Standing silently nearby, Li Dajuan simply wiped the blood off his hands, while whispering under his breath that this was pure Luby horror. With a proud grin, it was announced 1 shot each. After those shots, they didn't even twitch an inch. Everyone's minds were totally buffering. A deal was proposed of 2 pounds of meat per person, in exchange for helping carry everything down the trail. Instantly, Old Tan's eyes lit up like slot machines hitting the jackpot. Sleeves rolled up, deer hoisted, and doubts totally forgotten. As any lingering questions vanished, Li De Zhuang hoiked the 150-pound sorrow over his shoulder with ease, treating it like a lightweight feather pillow, absolute unit style. The trek back transformed right into the Rose Sheba comedy hour. Har simply couldn't contain himself anymore. That guy Sheba, he totally peed his pants 3 times, dude. First when bro's bullet zipped right past his left ear with a loud splash. And then I sent one whizzing past his right ear, making a double splash, right before Shuangju tried cutting him off. Yet upon hearing that Sheboy had threatened to harm his boy, he flipped sides in a heartbeat. What a total turtle son. That guy's skin is thicker than a medieval fortress wall. Chiming right in, Old Tan added, I went over there specifically to help that ungrateful jerk, only for him to poke my chest and tell me to get lost. Even though I'm a generation older than him, he isn't even worth giving the time of day to. His kid Tansy, back when we helped them transplant rice, didn't even have the decency to offer Dad a glass of water. Someone ought to knock his teeth clean out and shove them straight down his pants. Remaining completely silent, Li Dazhuang let out a heavy snort, though that single snort spoke volumes. The roasting session kept going strong from the mountain, all the way back into the village streets. They picked apart his terrible personality, his unfortunate-looking wife, his humiliating pants wetting, his facial expressions back to his pants again, returning once more to his face, and finally coming full circle back to his rotten personality. It was a complete 360-degree roast fest. Adding his 2 cents, Hodder joked, he shouldn't even be called Fan Sherbet anymore, honestly. From now on, let's call him Fampy Pants. While everyone howled with laughter, I just kept walking steadily, with my mouth twitching as I tried maintaining some dignity. We stepped into the village just as dawn was breaking. A little kid squatting right by his front doorstep, taking his morning leak, caught sight of us hauling a giant boar, and bolted inside bare-bottomed, completely forgetting to pull his pants up, screaming at the top of his lungs, Grandma, there's a massive pig out here. News traveled faster than wildfire through the dry brush. Within a matter of minutes, my front yard was completely swarmed by half the village. All our spoils were laid out proudly in the front. The sorrel, the 2 deer, a 200-pound wild boar, a hedgehog, and a squirrel, looking just like a complete wildlife museum display. Whispers popped up like, is that none like? Haven't seen one in years. Man, the Liu family is about to strike it rich. Then suddenly, a harsh voice cut through the air like nails on a chalkboard. The mountain belongs to the collective, you know, and all these animals are collective property. Luby argues it shouldn't all go to one person, demanding a fair split for everyone. 2 dogs come swaggering back for round 2. Right behind him strut 3 or 4 local freeloaders looking for a handout. Yeah, the whole mountain belongs to everyone, right? They claim the meat is a collective share for the village. Horror loses his cool, snatching his gun and yelling, let me blast these clowns. Shuangju pins him to the ground while all eyes instantly swing to me. Taking my time, I stand up, slide Hodder's rifle out of his grip, and level the barrel before pulling the trigger with a sharp bang. The bullet slams into the dirt right between 2 dogs' feet. Hot Lead grazes his inner thigh as the projectile tears past him. He crashes to the ground, pissing his pants on the spot out of pure terror. Horror bursts into laughter, though 2 dogs is busy soaking his own trousers. What on earth is wrong with you guys tonight? Did everybody's bladder suddenly decide to quit? Slowly blowing the wisps of smoke away from the gun muzzle, I realize this is becoming my go-to signature move, and I drop the hammer with an announcement. Listen up, we are living in the reform era now, people. I risked my skin climbing that freezing mountain. I paid for the bullets out of my own pocket, and I almost got flattened by an angry wild boar. If you want meat so bad, go hunt your damn selves. Too cowardly to try? Then get the hell out of my yard. The next round won't just miss and sail between your legs. 2 dogs stays frozen in place, and not a single soul volunteers to step up. Fine then, 2 dogs. Looks like you're up again, but don't sweat it. My aim is spot on, so this will be quick and painless. You'll barely even feel it. I'm gonna remember this. He scrambles up from the dirt and flees with his pathetic crew in tow. Talk about tucking tail and running. Suddenly, Mom storms out of the kitchen brandishing a heavy meat cleaver. Yeah, keep running, you cowards. Turn right back around. And let my boy shoot that pathetic little piece of equipment right off. You worthless piece of garbage, if I ever catch you back here. I'll stomp on your tiny little gear myself. I have to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from cracking up. Before I can breathe, Chunyan bursts through the door holding a machete in one fist and a pair of shears in the other, taking off down the street after 2 dogs while screaming bloody murder. Get your scrawny ass back here, you coward. Let me snip off your 3rd leg and throw it to the stray neighborhood mutts. She is sprinting at full speed down the dirt road, wielding lethal blades in both hands, her hair streaming behind her like an absolute feral beast. 2 dogs is running for his absolute life and his future manhood. Standing right there in the yard, I watch my 3rd ex-wife chase a grown man down the lane with sharp shears, targeted directly at his reproductive future. A strange thought pops into my head. You know what? Maybe she actually still gives a damn about me. Chunyin chases 2 dogs until he's completely out of sight over the ridge, then stomps back toward the house while aggressively snapping her shears at open air. The next time I lay eyes on you, I'm chopping it off for good. A random male villager standing nearby accidentally makes eye contact with her. She immediately whips around and points the blade straight at him. What are you staring at, creep? Want me to snip yours off too? The poor guy's leg snaps shut so fast his knees crack audibly. Turning her attention to my hunt, she walks over to inspect the pile of game. A sorrow and 2 deer, along with a massive 200-pound wild boar. Her eyes widen in pure disbelief, though her sharp tongue stays entirely true to form. Are you seriously telling me you didn't steal these from Sherbei's crew? Stepping forward from the crowd, Old Tan speaks up. Miss, I saw him take them down myself. All 3 shots were pure skill. Every single vital organ was shattered instantly by those 3 shots. In 3 decades of tracking wildlife, I've honestly never witnessed anything quite this wild. Li Dazhuang immediately backed his statement up. It's legit. Chunyin nudged the wild boar with her boot. She felt the deer's thick fat layer before muttering under her breath. A blind cat just happened to stumble upon a dead mouse. Total beginner's luck, right? Despite that, she instantly squatted down. Right away, she began inspecting the animal's belly fat. For someone who claimed she didn't believe my skill, she sure looked low-key eager to check the meat quality. Yui stood frozen right at her doorway, his jaw dropping open wide enough to stash a whole melon. Did he actually pull all of this off completely solo? My 3 kids anxiously peeked out from right behind Wan Xiao. Pan Pan stared at the sorrow for a long moment, overwhelmed with curiosity while her feet stayed glued to the dirt. Little Bao desperately wanted to reach out and touch the beast, but catching sight of me, he froze, still terrified of his own old man. I know we still have a long road ahead of us. Mom playfully slapped the back of my head with a soft smile this time. If you had only acted like this sooner, would I have aged 20 extra years from pure stress? Right after, she shifted straight into logistics mode. It's the dead of summer, so this meat is going to spoil fast. Get it down to the market now. I immediately started dividing the spoils. 3 pounds per helper for Old Tan, along with his son, Li Dazhuang, Shuangju, and all the extra guys who pitched in. Everyone secured their share, grinning ear to ear like lottery winners. Next up, I offered 3 yuan each, if they'd help haul everything all the way to town. Mom nearly suffered a stroke as I watched her crunching the numbers in her head. 7. People multiplied by 3 yuan equals 21 yuan total. That's half of a regular worker's monthly salary gone, just like that. Her heart was literally hemorrhaging hard-earned cash. Do you want to just give all your earnings away for free? She hissed quietly, though with half the village watching. She forced herself to swallow the rest. I quietly murmured back, Mom, we're going to need that horse cart again soon. So these guys helping out right now is a smart investment. We get the profit later. She grumbled under her breath, but finally accepted. Carrying a solid 5 pounds of fresh meat, I walked it over to the village chief. His wife's eyes locked instantly onto that chunk of pork, like a high-tech heat-seeking missile. Just use the cart anytime you need. We're practically family here. The chief couldn't agree to that deal fast enough. 3 pounds handed over to Old 7 for the horses, and that's done. Palms were greased all around, leaving everyone happy. Back home, I carved out a neat 15 pounds specifically for our family, allocating 5 pounds each of wild boar, deer, and sorrel. After telling Mom to salt and preserve them properly, I loaded the rest of the heavy cargo straight onto the wooden cart. Just as I was climbing up, Wanshu came rushing out the door, carrying a refreshing bowl of water. Drink this down before you head out. I drained it instantly. She gently smoothed down my collar. You spent the entire night hunting, so try to catch some sleep along the road, and don't push yourself too hard. Something about the way she looked at me right then, all that tender warmth and quiet worry, combined with that sweet gesture of fixing my shirt, completely melted something deep inside my chest. I suddenly reached out, pulled her close, and wrapped her in a tight hug. Let go of me. Everyone's watching right now. She started pushing against my chest when all of a sudden, she felt a very distinct development down below the equator. A sudden structural shift that was becoming increasingly impossible for either of us to ignore. Her face instantly flushed the exact crimson color of a boiled lobster. Under the harsh glare of midday, Luby abruptly shoved me backward. You seriously lack any sense of shame whatsoever. Like a building set ablaze, she bolted straight back into the house. An eerie, dead silence immediately blanketed the courtyard. Breaking the quiet, Old Tan was the first to let out snort. With a sharp pivot, Lita Zhuang turned his entire body away from me. Though Tanzi's mouth hung wide open, not a single sound managed to escape. Letting out a heavy sigh, Shuangju cast his gaze upward toward the sky. Standing in the doorway, Chunyin muttered in pure disgust, "Gross mom." Right in front of everyone, she spat disdainfully onto the dirt. "You're totally embarrassing me," and right on cue. With eyes gleaming brightly, horror materialized right at my elbow. "BR, were you low-key trying to make a baby with sister? Why don't you just now?" Your technique gave off major hunting vibes. Lock on target and refuse to let go. If you and her actually hook up tonight, hit me up. I'll lurk outside the door to eavesdrop. Just to master your precision aiming technique. Get lost. I'll pay your tuition. Seriously, get lost. As Shuangju casually smacked his son across the skull. Utter one more word, and I'm literally sewing your mouth shut. Rubbing his head, horror just let out a giggling laugh. My teacher always preaches that students need to be eager to learn. How is showing eagerness to learn somehow wrong? Never in my entire existence have I scrambled onto a horse cart so fast. "Let's roll out," shouted horror from behind as I sped away. "BRO. Once you get back tonight, don't ghost on me. Teach me your ways. I'm a totally willing student. Teach you absolute zero smack." Once again, Shuangju's palm connected solidly with that hard skull. As our cart rolled out of the village, my face was still burning bright red, desperately trying to pretend the last 2 minutes never occurred. Right behind me, my entire family, along with half the village, had just watched me pop a very public morning wood, while holding my very first ex-wife in a hug. My new bucket list goal is to dig a deep hole, climb inside, and never resurface. Hold on, though, as we pulled away from the village bounds. Something caught my attention out of the corner of my eye. A mysterious shadow trailed us from a distance. Someone was definitely tailing our cart, bursting into the morning market like a full-blown traveling circus. My trusty purple financial radar successfully guided me to the absolute prime location, where I immediately started hollering, "Fresh wild boar. $1 a pound, and 0 ration tickets required." Back in 1981, official government pork cost 1.20 and demanded a prize ticket, which only granted you 2 measly pounds for the whole month. I was offering meat that was cheaper, tastier, and completely ticket-free. People swarmed around us as if I were handing out free gold. An elderly grandma stepped up to lowball the deer meat price. "Can you let it go for a flat $1?" I laid out the ultimate sales pitch right then and there. "Ma'am, you already know what state market venison goes for. This is completely wild. This is totally rare. At 1.10, this is practically a steal. Where else could you possibly find a deal like this?" Backing me up, a random dude in the crowd chimed in. "He's totally right. That's a fair price, consider it sold." God bless that random stranger. Working with surgical precision, Shuangju began butchering the meat. Every single cut was ruler straight, while Old Tan efficiently managed the weighing scale. And horror did what horror does best, somehow turning out low-key hilarious. Bigger crowds were pulled in by his silly jokes than by the actual meat. A born showman was clearly at work here. Total clown energy, yet totally natural. Every single item was completely sold out within 30 minutes. Squatting right beside me was the 280 yuan prophet. With bulging eyes, Biro breathed out 280. Shushing him abruptly, Shuangju told him to shut it. "You do not go yelling about cash in public. You absolute goof." And then my purple vision went wild. The deepest, most intense shade of purple I had ever witnessed suddenly emerged nearby, vibrating intensely with heavy profit energy. Tracking it down led me straight to an upscale brick building, the Jifu restaurant, where behind the counter, a plump man dressed in a neatly buttoned mouse suit was seated, twirling Buddhist prayer beads around, looking like a mob boss who had just found religion. Catching sight of the sarong, his beads froze right in the middle of the spin. "Is it a foreign-like? Freshly brought down from the deep mountains for purchase." After some haggling where he opened at 80, and I countered with 120, he just accepted right on the spot. 120 yuan scored for a single piece of animal foam. Around these parts, they call me General Foam. Feel free to bring me more wild game whenever you want. Our total earnings for just one morning hit 400 yuan, considering a government worker pulls in 38.50 a month. I had basically pocketed someone's savings of 3 to 4 years. Strutting out before lunch, feeling like absolute royalty, when suddenly, stop right there as Wang Motzi stepped back into view with 15 goons. This time, while lurking behind him like the total pest he is, were 2 snitches pointing right at me and yelling, "Brother Motzi, I told you he made absolute bank today. That damn rat had been tailing us all the way from the village." Answering for the mysterious shadow, I spotted earlier. Twirling a wooden stick around, Wong Matsi sneered. You really humiliated me back at your place. And I have not forgotten, seeing as this is my turf, and you owe me now. 200 with compounded interest as 15 guys formed a tight circle around us. Outnumbered 3 to 15, Hero snatched up a carrying pole. Let me take these clowns down, but I held him back, saying wait. Giving my chest a smug poke with his finger, Wong Matsi smirked, launching straight into his villain monologue. Do you honestly think coughing up 100 settles this? Interest compounds, so today you're going to hand over. Grabbing the finger he was poking me with, I yanked it straight backward. With a loud crack, he dropped to his knees, screaming out, Let go of me, boys. Get him, as all 15 thugs rushed forward. This was precisely where things turned epic. Snatching Wong Matsu up by his collar, I used him as a literal human shield. Bam, the very first stick meant for my face. Crashed hard across Wong Matsu's forehead instead. Are you blind? He shrieked out at his own goon. Sorry, boss. I totally did not mean to as I ducked away again. Bam, the second stick smashed right into Wong Matsu's spine. Are your eyes broken too? Hit him. Not me. And he yelled back, as you wish. I whispered, right in his ear while pivoting him around. Wham, the third stick landed squarely on his shoulder blade. Wong Matsi was basically in tears at this point. His own guys had accidentally rocked his world 3 separate times while trying to strike me. He was serving as my personalized punching bag shield, soaking up every single blow like a piñata that begs you to stop. Everybody stopped hitting as his crew froze in absolute confusion, with Wong Matsi sitting there sobbing. Listen up, brother Luby. I totally messed up because this whole thing was Two Dogs' master plan. A nervous glance was shot toward Two Dogs, who completely lost his cool and blurted out, Yo, it was totally Wong Matsu's bright idea. I had zero to do with it. A sly grin spread across my face as things got interesting. Wong Matsu is pinning the blame on you, buddy. And you're putting it right back on him, Two Dogs. Looks like your own homie just sold you out big time. How are you going to handle this situation? Wong Matsu's melancholy vibe instantly turned into pure, unadulterated rage. You backstabbing little rat, Two Dogs, get a load of this beatdown. Wait, hold on, bro. Brother Matsu, please spare the face, man. Not the precious nose. Wham, wham. A ruthless pummeling was delivered to Two Dog by Wong Matsu's very own crew. Both of his eyes swelled shut until they turned into matching, textbook panda circles. Such aesthetic symmetry filled the air as Wong Matsu dropped to his knees. A solemn oath was sworn aloud. Luby, I swear to the heavens above, no matter where you end up, my face will never be shown here again. Should this sacred vow be broken by me, let the lightning strike down, and may I perish completely without leaving a single hair. An acceptance of his surrender was just about to leave my lips when, who's causing a ruckus out here? Police. Actual law enforcement rolled up right at the absolute worst possible timestamp. Everybody on the ground right now, with your hands locked behind your heads. You're all taking a trip downtown with us. Every single one of us, me, Horror, Tinsy, Wong Matsu. 2 dogs and 15 goons got cuffed and booked. Iconic. Just peak comedy, with a cool 400 yuan resting safely inside my pocket. A loving family was waiting back home for me. Yet here I was, being hauled off to the station house. Simply because Wong Matsu's face collided with his own homeboy's fists. And 2 Dogs was out here, looking straight up like a dumpster raccoon. This is totally fine, everything's Gucci. Just a quick 30-minute pit stop at the precinct. No biggie at all. As it turned out, once the cops got the unfiltered version of events, how Wong Matsu attempted to shake me down for cash, how his very own crew accidentally beat the daylights out of him, and how 2 Dogs inherited a panda face, because his own side started throwing punches at him. They locked Wong Matsu's entire squad behind bars and let us walk free. The justice system was actually functioning exactly as designed. For once, everybody received the 3 yuan they were promised. Old Tan grabbed my hand firmly, acting as though I were his long-lost prodigal son. Anytime you need backup, bro, I've got your back. Lita Zhuang gave a slow nod, embodying the ultimate man of few words, backed up by an insane amount of muscle. Final score for the day. A total of 400 yuan earned, minus 21 yuan paid out to the helpers, leaving a sweet 379 yuan safely tucked in my pocket. Considering an average government worker only pockets 38.50 a month. 10 months' worth of salary had just been secured in a single morning. All accomplished with a rusty shotgun and a certified clown as my business partner. Upon returning home, right as the sun dipped below the horizon, a surprisingly wholesome scene welcomed my arrival. Wancho was splitting firewood with the grace of a lumberjack guardian angel, demonstrating absolute precision and efficiency, while stacking each individual piece to perfection. Yuhi was lounging outside, looking visibly healthier, gently fanning herself in the breeze. All three kids were chasing each other around in the warm, golden sunlight, actually sharing genuine laughs for once. And Chunyin? She was pacing back and forth across the yard like a restless tiger in a cage, marching from east to west, then west to east for 8 full laps, followed by the 9th, and then the 10th. Wanchio's patience finally ran out as she blurted out, "What are you doing? For 30 whole minutes you've been pacing back and forth, leaving a deep trench in the dirt of the courtyard. Trying to digest my dinner because I ate way too much. I'm pacing for 8 whole laps. Nobody's buying that excuse, so why don't you mind your own damn business? And besides, you were the exact one who got up 5 times last night, just to check if he had finally returned. Yeah, 5 whole times. You're the one who was totally stressing out, right after you dropped the axe and completely lost your mind. Oh, is that right? And tell me, who was it? Tossing and turning in bed last night and whispering husband. Husband repeatedly in her sleep, doing some very specific things while she was at it. Would you like me to spell every detail out for you?" Xuan Yuan's complexion instantly shifted from normal to a blazing volcanic red. "You're literally making this up. My vision is crystal clear, and my hearing is even sharper than that. You totally did what you did, so own up to it." Chun Yin bolted straight into the house, completely speechless and unable to utter a word. Yi, who had been innocently eavesdropping on the side, suddenly flushed bright tomato red as well. He stared fixedly at the dirt, pretending to be utterly fascinated by a wandering ant. Mom, standing by the well to wash clothes, just chuckled softly while shaking her head. "The more the two of you bicker over my good-for-nothing son, the happier I get because it proves you both still genuinely care. Grandma was out here playing 4D chess when I casually strolled right in. Got any grub lying around because I'm starving to death." Wanchio rushed over instantly asking, "How did everything go?" "It went amazingly. Every single item sold out completely. We made 400 yuan total, and we're left with 379 after paying the guys their cut." Yui's traditional paper fan slipped right out of her grasp. "Did you say 379 yuan? Having been married into this household for 3 solid years, the absolute most cash she had ever held at once was 250. Peering through her tiny window, Chunyin, who definitely wasn't worried about me at all, spotted the thick stack of paper bills, making her eyeballs practically pop straight out her head. Mom sprinted away from the well with dripping wet hands and snatched the cash away like a hawk diving down on a fish. "Let me count this right now, let me count it." She reached about 100 before completely losing her place. Starting over from scratch, she somehow got confused yet again. "Wan Xiao, come here and help me out." Wan Xiao went ahead and counted it up flawlessly. 379 yuan verified, and then she handed the money straight to me. Not to Mom, but directly to me. Mom's internal operating system experienced a total error. Yet Wanchio was low-key testing me, and I could totally feel it. Mom's piercing gaze was drilling straight into my skull, loudly transmitting the warning. "Slip that cash into your pocket, and I will literally destroy you." Instead, I took the entire stack and placed it right into Wanchio's palms. "You should hang on to this," causing her to blink in surprise. "Why me out of everyone? Because this cash is meant for building our new home. You're the only person in this entire household who is actually good at math. I completely trust you with it." Wanchio stared down at the cash resting in her hands in disbelief. This guy here, who used to gamble away hundreds without batting an eye, just handed over every single cent he had honestly earned, passing it neither to Mom nor to Chunyin. He gave it all to her, the quiet one, the one he divorced for having a daughter. Her gaze softened completely as she took charge, handling this cash, though she dropped one final warning. Her eyes locked straight onto mine without blinking. "Let's not make this a one-time stunt, okay? Consistency is everything right now." I knew damn well what she was getting at. Too many times before, she'd been played and burned. Seeing this new side of me had to become a daily habit, starting tomorrow, the day after, and every single day following. "Fair enough, Wanyu." Fair enough, but hidden deep inside her tone, beneath all that heavy caution, there was a vibe that felt suspiciously close to a flicker of hope. So I flashed a grin telling Wan Xiao not to sweat it. "Your man's gonna stay solid. Trust me." Dead silence, then BM. Mom smacked the back of my head. "Watch your mouth, though I swore I didn't mean it like that." "You talking back to me now?" "Oh, I was way off." "That's what I thought, MPH." "MPH, Wanyu." rolled her eyes so hard back in her head. I honestly thought they'd get stuck there. Wan Zhao's brain instantly flashed back to that awkward moment. I shoved my hand right down her pants, just to check her period supplies, making her face catch fire all over again. From down the hall, Chun Yan's voice echoed out, pure shamelessness. By then, I was way too exhausted to give a damn, having gone over 24 hours without a wink of sleep. Fresh clothes were grabbed as I marched toward the bathhouse, to scrub off 2 whole days' worth of dry blood, thick sweat, and raw animal guts. But the second I stepped away, Chun Yan launched herself out of her room like a ballistic missile, and immediately cornered Wan Xiao, hissing, "Sister Wan Xiao, I gotta warn you, because he's setting up a total trap. Handing over the cash is literally step 1. He'll gain your trust just to lure you into his bed. Then once he's got you hooked, boom, that toxic real personality comes right back. You're gonna lose both the money and your self-respect. Give it back to him right now before it's too late." Wan Xiao didn't even bother looking up from her wood chopping. "Are you done yet?" "Yeah." "Then get lost because I'm busy." "But he's playing you. Just admit you're salty. Because he gave that money to me instead of your selfish ass." All this manipulative scheming is honestly exhausting. Chun Yan's expression froze right in the middle of a sentence. "Who? Me? Jealous? I'm just... And speaking of sleeping with a guy anyway, weren't you the one who had him locked in your room the other night? Don't act like you didn't want it, given your wild temper. If you genuinely didn't want him in there with you, there's no way he could have ever made it past that door." Chun Yan shifted into shades of anger I've never witnessed on a human face. I was completely forced. It wasn't consensual at all. Forced? Coming from a woman who literally chases grown men with sharp scissors. Not even a ghost would buy that ridiculous lie. Now beat it, because I got what to chop. Chun Yan finally dropped the fake act and went brutally honest. "Fine, I'll spell it out for you straight then. You're way too soft, and someone's gonna rip that cash right off you. Hand it over to me, so I can keep it safe. Any guy tries pulling some shady moves, I'll slice him to pieces, and if any female tries something funny, I'll chop her up too." Wan Xiao just flashed a cold smile. Well, the crafty fox is finally tipping her hand, exposing her true colors under the dim candlelight. "If you're looking to get that cash, go run it by Luby instead. Should he give the green light, I will fork it over right on the spot." Asking me straight to my face, Chun Yan would honestly rather swallow shards of glass than stoop to asking me for a single thing. She stomped away, fuming with absolute rage. Keeping her back turned, Wan Xiao let out a quiet, knowing smile to herself in the shadows. Since he slid those funds straight to me, it's pretty clear I'm the favorite around here. Not you, Chun Yan. Yours truly is the main event. Man, these women are something else. They're already out here beefing over me big time. And I haven't even lifted a single finger yet. Crazy, right? And honestly, I only caught wind of this whole mess way later. Somehow. Chun Yan sleepwalked her dazed self right up to the bathhouse entrance, where I was rinsing off completely in the buff. Glued against the wooden frame, she pressed her eye right up to the crack in the door, catching a full glimpse of my broad back muscles, apparently. My defined shoulders and tapered waist were on full display, and her brain just totally fried, Error 404 style. Reconstructing her inner dialogue through pure forensic evidence gives us this. Since when did this absolute goofball get so shredded and jacked? No wonder the guy had an endless supply of battery power. Standing frozen in the dark that night, her jaw dropped wide open in pure shock. Drool actually started pooling in her mouth. Her throat gave a heavy, audible gulp. She remained totally paralyzed there, locked to the wooden crack, with a completely empty, blank stare while I finished up my routine. Pulling on my shorts quickly, I yanked the door open and nearly bowled right over her. "Chun Yan, what on earth are you doing lingering by the door like that? And seriously, why are you drooling everywhere?" "I'm not drooling at all. Who even said I was drooling? No one is drooling here. Get real." "Then what are you doing hanging around?" I was just taking a casual stroll past, so don't flatter yourself too much." She bolted away into the night as I watched her scamper off with a smug grin. That woman was completely, 100%, just sneaking a peek at my naked bod, right through the crack in the door panels. Her mouth claims she was just passing by innocently, but her whole body language screams front row VIP seat. Honestly, don't sweat it too much, Chun Yan. Once I fully caught my breath and refueled my energy, I'll hook you up with the absolute director's cut. Letting out a heavy yawn, I shuffled off to bed and passed out cold before my skull even touched the pillow. Meanwhile, over at Hotter's humble spot, his mom was busy tossing feed to the chickens, when Shuangju suddenly slapped a crisp 6 yuan right into her palm. Staring down in disbelief, She counted the bills 3 separate times. Did he actually cough up the cash for you? Puffing his chest out like an arrogant farm rooster, he boasted proudly. Mom, my boy here is an absolute legend, handling animals all night with 3 straight hits. Honestly, I think the old man needs to take notes from him, learning how to shoot. Wait, no, learning how to score 3 Ys instead. Without skipping a beat, his mother ripped off her cloth shoe and tore after him around the courtyard while yelling bloody murder. You ungrateful little punk. I raised you for absolutely nothing. Watching his fierce wife chase down their terrified son across the dirt, Shuangju casually bent down to retrieve his dropped tobacco pipe and flashed the warmest, proudest grin of his entire life. Looks like the kid finally wants to throw his old man a bone and help out. That's definitely my bloodline running right there. Talk about true, grade A filial piety, huh? Right on cue, a sudden pounding echoed on their front door deep into the night. Completely unexpected. Who on earth could possibly be knocking at this hour? Shuangju's wife hollered out into the dark, sister. Go ahead and unlatch it, it's just me. Classic cliffhanger moment. Because apparently this wild story refuses to let a single soul get any shut-eye. While I was out cold and dead asleep in my bed, it turns out, literally everyone else in the entire village was low-key trying to join Team Luby. Old Tan strolled into Shuangju's place, trying to play it low-key. So when's Luby heading out for another hunt anyway? Just asking out of pure curiosity. And Harper, despite his scrambled brains, somehow saw right through the old man's game. Uncle Tan, you're down to team up with my bro. Yet you're way too shy to approach him yourself. So you dragged my dad into this to do your dirty work, huh? Old Tan's confident grin instantly froze. A certified goofball had just read him like a picture book. He bounced back in no time flat, though. Decades of village politics immediately kicked into gear. Haha, you're sharper than attack. No wonder Liu Bei always keeps you close by. Smooth recovery, old-timer. Right after that, Li Dezhong walked in with 2 other guys, toting the exact same question and sheepish grins. Shuangju didn't even let them finish their pitch. You're here to ask about hunting with Luby, right? I'll let him know, now beat it. Go home. Shuangju's wife kept clutching her 6 yuan for the 40th time, and hissed under her breath, honey, if more freeloaders join, won't our cut shrink down to nothing? Shuangju puffed hard on his pipe, woman. Luby's brain power works circles around yours. And Harper's his ride or die, so he'll always get fed first. His wife pivoted toward Harper, sporting the sweetest maternal smile she had ever managed. Sweetie, make sure you glue yourself to your brother Bei. Got it. Harper thumped his chest proudly. Ma, the bro situation is totally under control. Zero drama here. Then he paused for effect. Though you got a massive problem on your hands. Harper declared with the pure innocence of a saint. Every single time Dad fights with you, he gets wiped out in under 3 minutes flat. His stamina is trash, so you really ought to buy him supplements. If the whole village finds out he has no endurance, he'll lose all his street cred. Dead silence. Shuangju's pipe froze dead in midair. His jaw twitched in pure fury. He raised the pipe to smash his kid's skull open, then suddenly hesitated. Wait, what if I fry his brain more? The boy is already running on fumes anyway. One more blow, and there'll be nothing left upstairs. Meanwhile, his wife didn't hold back, whacking Harper right across the forehead. Your old man never had any stamina to begin with. Not even on our wedding night. It's always been a quick sprint, forget supplements. Total waste of cash. Save that money to land yourself a wife instead, so I can finally get a grandson. And you better hope that kid outlasts your useless father. Shuangju's entire face was having a spasm. His own wife had just publicly confessed right in front of their son that he's been a 3-minute man for their entire marriage. And on top of that, she wants an heir who can actually perform. Mother and son are truly cut from the exact same cloth. One blasting his endurance while the other roasts his stamina. They share a single brain cell, I swear. Then Harper bolted like a rocket toward the door. Where the hell do you think you're sneaking off to? You demanded grandkids, right? I'm sprinting over to Brother Bei's place for field research. He's probably hooking up with one of his sisters-in-law right this second. So I'm going to observe and take detailed notes. His mother froze solid like a glitching computer. Get her butt back here, you little. And just like that, he vanished into the dark, on a covert mission to spy on my intimate life, all under the guise of education. Shuangju found his mother whirling around to shoot him a dagger look. Your boy has 0 stamina. Yes, your precious boy Shuangju. Screaming inside, while remembering he popped out of your own womb too. Come on, woman, how can this be entirely on me? Back at my place, I was completely knocked out in deep sleep, sailing through the afternoon, straight past midnight. The whole house was dead to the world, Ma. Wan Xiao Yu. He was totally quiet. Even the kids were out cold until my full bladder forced me awake. Nature called, and there was no ignoring it. Groggy in the pitch black, I stumbled toward the outhouse. That was the exact moment something caught my eye. Chunyan's bedroom door was standing wide open. Well, not fully open, just a tiny crack. A deliberate and totally inviting crack. Chunyan always slides the bolt on her door at night. Without fail, every single night, ever since the divorce. She locks it down like she's guarding top-secret government files. Yet tonight of all nights, that door was cracked open like a subtle hint. My bladder screamed, head to the bathroom. My brain argued, but look at that door. Could it really be? I froze outside Chu Yan's room, glaring right at that gap. As if it were the gateway to heaven. This same woman who normally bars her door shut, as though protecting nuclear launch codes, adds share barricades, and probably sets up tripwires too, had intentionally left the entrance unlocked. After spending the afternoon hours, peeking hungrily through the bathhouse door gap. While taking in my shower, her mouth says, "Get lost," while her door whispers, "Come on in." I made my choice for the door, shoving it open quiet, as a ghost before locking it behind me. Taking 3 steps to the bed, there she was. Eyes squeezed, tightly shut, taking exaggerated slow breaths. Faking a deep slumber. Except her ribcage was rising and falling fast, like she had just sprinted a full marathon, putting on an Oscar-worthy performance, ruined entirely by her breathless chest. Nobody drifts off to sleep with a resting heart rate of 180. Cool moonlight poured right through the tiny window pane and washed directly over her figure. She was dressed in nothing but a crimson silk top, leaving her shoulders collarbones, and various other notable assets completely bare to the world. My throat did a hard, nervous swallow. Sliding under the covers, I draped my arm around her waist. Her whole body turned stiff before her defense mode kicked in. Snapping awake, she demanded, "Who's there?" Only to recognize me, and immediately aim a swift kick straight for my gut, catching her ankle with one hand in a flash. I clamped my other palm right over her mouth. Shoo, shoo. One you is sleeping just next door, and her hearing is sharper than a fox's. One tiny peep, and she'll bounce right out of bed. How do you plan on talking your way out of this? Pure fury made her eyes bulge wide out of her head. Yet she knew damn well I was right. Wancho had already put her through enough public embarrassment today. Getting caught a second time meant getting totally canceled by society. Even so, she wasn't going to roll over without drawing blood. Chomp. My arm was caught in her teeth, a vicious grip that made me gasp out. "Are you out of your mind? What kind of feral creature are you?" Her palm slammed straight across my mouth to silence me. Pointing at the wall, she glared down at me. "I was just using your exact same logic against you. Go ahead and scream your lungs out. Wake Wancho right up. See what goes down. Total checkmate using my own play. Fine, you win." Growing impatient, she threw her hands up. "What were you just standing around for? Have you completely blanked out? Didn't you just say Wanchio is sleeping right next door?" "I mentioned she's next door, sure. That doesn't mean your hands are tied. Are you made of stone, or what? Hurry up before I take another bite." "Yes, ma'am, right away." "You call this sluggish pace fast? Are you even trying?" I honestly felt like I had walked straight into a tiger's den. Forget a wolf's den. This was a full-blown tiger's lair, and the apex predator was starving, impatient, edgy, and packing some seriously razor-sharp teeth. This had to be punishment for some terrible sins in a past life. The universe was finally calling in its unpaid tabs, and the collection method was getting bossed around under the covers by the single most terrifying woman across 3 whole villages. We were just getting into the groove of round 2 when knock, knock, knock. A sudden pounding echoed. "Just pretend you didn't hear it," I whispered, and she nodded okay. "Knock, knock. Knock, knock. Knock, knock." "Maybe you should go look," she murmured. "No way. If Wancho wakes up and catches you hanging out in my..." I was out of that bed with my shoes on in record time. The door was unlatched, and I was slinking across the courtyard grass in under 4 seconds flat. That should honestly be a world record for post-coital evacuation. Pulling the gate open, I froze, bathed in the pale moonlight with a massive, goofy grin plastered across his face, stood Hor. "Hey bro, good evening." My right, I started twitching uncontrollably. "Hor, it is the dead of night. What did you possibly want right now?" "Business first. Old Tan and Lee Dae-young want a spot on the next hunting roster." "Fine, put them down next time." "Is that all?" "Nope." Stretching his neck out, he tried to sneak a peek into the dark yard, then leaned forward to whisper straight down my ear canal. "Bro, are you hooking up with our sister-in-law tonight, or what?" "Why are you asking?" "Purely for research purposes. I'm going to tie the knot someday, and I can't walk into marriage completely clueless." My teacher always preached that a dedicated student has to ask questions. You've handled 3 Ys already, meaning you're basically a seasoned professor. I just want to study your actual field techniques. Is that really such a crime? This absolute clown chose to interrupt me right in the middle of a tiger ride, just to ask if he could audit my bedroom performance. Like an elective university course. Get lost. My boot connected with his backside, so hard he went airborne. As the heavy wooden door slammed shut, he stood out in the dirt rubbing his rear end, looking genuinely baffled. What did I even say wrong? The teacher taught us to recognize what you know and admit what you don't know. And that true wisdom comes from acknowledging your ignorance. I didn't know, so I asked, why does gaining an education always hurt so much? Then muttering to himself, he sighed, fine. If bro isn't going to school me, I'm going to go scope out other cribs instead. Every single household puts on the exact same late-night show anyway. Master 1, you've mastered 10. The syllabus is totally identical. Off he sprinted into the dark village to launch a one-man undercover reconnaissance operation. With my blood boiling, I planted myself right by the front gate and stared hard toward Chun Yin's sleeping quarters. That heavy wooden door was slammed shut without a single crack, sealed tighter than a high-security bank vault with zero light peeking through. Just like that, the vibe was totally killed by sheer panic, despite being totally ready to run it back for 6 more rounds. This absolute clown decided to roll up on my door, acting like a room service delivery person, at literally the worst possible second. I swear I'm taking him out tomorrow, once I catch my breath. Turning around, I noticed her door was wide open, with her head peeking out into the dim hallway. She motioned me over with a single crooked finger while hissing quietly. Get your butt into my room right now, what on earth? Talk about how, when one door slams shut, another one literally flies wide open. Launching myself forward with open arms toward Wan Xiao, I was fully prepared for a passionate cinematic sequel, only for her to brutally stomp right on my foot. Ouch. Didn't you just summon me over? She completely ignored the question, and instead started sniffing me down like a TSA dog at baggage claim. You were just chilling in Chunyin's bed, weren't you? Weren't you scrubbing yourself down with soap earlier this afternoon? You used to smell fresh like pure well water. Now you're reeking straight of Chunyin. Women literally possess a superpower to sniff out cheating at a molecular level, so don't even bother trying to gaslight me. Case closed, she said with undeniable forensic proof, shaking her head as the verdict dropped. Didn't I warn you that you guys are officially divorced? Sneaking into her room like that is technically against the law. You could get hauled off to a re-education camp for a stunt like this. My pulse immediately started pounding, because I honestly thought she was about to say, though look, you're a grown man with totally normal biological needs. So yeah, I totally get it. She understands. She's totally gonna let me in. However, she is technically your ex-wife. While I happen to be your ex too, yet you sneak into her room and bypass mine. What am I? Just some piece of furniture sitting in the hallway. My heart was racing a million miles an hour, thinking she was finally inviting me in. This is actually happening. I opened my arms wide for round 2. Stay right where you are. She locked eyes with me with absolute, chilling seriousness. What I'm craving right now is fish, specifically Christian carp. Not any random fish off the market, but authentic Christian carp and nothing else. You better deliver some to me tomorrow. Wait, what? And if you fail to do so, I'm going to personally stake out you and Chunin every single night without fail. The exact microsecond you two reach your absolute peak moment. I'm going to start aggressively pounding on her door every single time, derailing your most sacred moments with the cold, calculated precision of a sniper before slamming her door shut. Frozen in place, my brain completely melted down. She was literally threatening to weaponize door-knocking tactics, timed down to the exact millisecond of maximum emotional and physical disruption. This was psychological warfare of the highest, most toxic order. If she actually follows through on this threat, I'm going to develop a permanent medical condition, a lifelong, trauma-induced psychological disorder. Shivering at the thought, I watched as Chun Yin's door suddenly cracked open again, with half her face peering out into the hall. What did Wan Xiao just say to you? She's demanding Christian carp, apparently. Chun Yin furrowed her brow in confusion. Christian carp? That is typically consumed by new mothers to increase their milk supply. Why would she even want that since she isn't breastfeeding at all? Clueless, she paused for a couple of seconds, with a quick shrug like whatever. I want some fish too, but what kind specifically? Black fish, she answered in a slow, calculated tone. Only black fish, but you used to be obsessed with eels. She leaned her weight against the wooden door frame and gave me a long head-to-toe scan. checking me out completely before dropping her voice to this low. Lazy whisper that eels are just way too thin, and definitely not filling enough. Pause. Blackfish are thick and way more satisfying. Bam. Standing alone in the yard, I tried processing thin, thick, and satisfying. Were we genuinely still talking about seafood? Something about that exchange felt super shady, even if I couldn't quite pinpoint the exact reason why. Women are seriously impossible creatures. Knock. Knock, knock. Ugh, I muttered under my breath while unlocking the front gate. It was Xuanju asking if my idiot son was over here. He left 20 minutes ago after I gave him the boot. Did he seriously not head straight home? No. Oh man, total nightmare. Out there alone at night, with that loose screw wandering the village. Splitting up to cover ground, I headed straight down the western path. Passing 3 alleys past the pond, finding absolute silence. Then a sound caught my attention. A muffled burst of laughter erupting from behind a stone wall. Holy crap, what a laugh. That unhinged giggle could only belong to one person anywhere. Tracking the noise led me right up to Fancy Bay's house. Horror was plastered against the exterior window frame. Peeking inside through a tiny hole he had poked through the paper. Shaking with silent, suppressed laughter. Trembling so violently, he looked like he was suffering a medical emergency. Right past that peephole. Shiba was attempting to be intimate with his wife, and failing in the most spectacular fashion possible. He collapsed flat on top of her, after achieving approximately 0 progress. His wife's scathing response was utterly devastating. You're completely useless and can't even perform. Luby got so spooked by an idiot he nearly peed his pants, while the entire village is currently laughing behind your back. Are you even a real man at all? Get the hell off me. She shoved him hard, kicking him straight off the mattress. Crawling back pathetically, he whined, honey, just let me try this one more time. Try what exactly? You've been fumbling around me for an entire hour, and absolutely nothing happened. Why don't you figure out how to bring home some cash instead? Now pack it up and get out of my bedroom. Horror lost it completely. Laughter burst out of his chest like a raging volcano. Who was out there? Shiba blasted out, wearing only his underwear. Spotting Horror standing there, his expression shifted from confused to nuclear rage. He had been humiliated up on the mountain, and humiliated right here in his own bed. And now the very same weirdo who caused both disasters was peering right through his window frame, as if he were watching free primetime entertainment. Grabbing a heavy brick, he screamed, I'm gonna murder you. Instead of fleeing, Horror didn't even budge. He took a bold step forward and stuck his forehead right out. Go ahead and take your best shot. Hit me. But if you fail to take my life by tomorrow morning, I'm coming back to finish you, and keep in mind, I'm legally certified insane, so crazy folks commit murder completely free. With 0 prison sentence, the brick froze midair. Shiba's cognitive system just completely short-circuited over that same impossible math equation. Taking out Hodder means catching a death sentence for Shiba. Leaving Hodder alone means Hodder completely wrecks him with 0 consequences. Stepping out the doorway, his wife gave Hodder a cold stare, then glared at Shiba, clutching a brick inside his underwear. Hands planted on her hips, she muttered about his total uselessness. Marrying you was clearly a massive blind spot. Had she realized his complete lack of worth back then, she would have tied the knot with HER instead. Shiba's face flashed white, crimson, and neon red, followed by a bizarre 4th shade yet to be discovered. Public humiliation outside met total disaster back in the bedroom. Now his own spouse was openly ranking Hodder way above him. Blood filled his vision until his eyes turned terrifyingly scarlet. Down came the heavy brick straight toward Hoth's skull, which is precisely when I had to step in, saving my best friend from having his already battered brain mashed into paste by sending Shiba flying with a swift kick, delivered right on schedule with my boot to his backside. The brick hit the dirt while my combat boot pinned his shoulder. Hodder is practically my own flesh and blood. Touch even a single strand of his hair, and I will obliterate you. Let this kick serve as your final warning, aiming my foot directly at his sensitive crotch area next time. I promise I won't just kick, I'm going to stomp. Frozen solid, he lay flat on the floor. Peering at him from the doorway, his wife sneered, calling him pathetic before slamming the door right in his face, dragging a rambling Hodder away from the scene. He couldn't stop broadcasting every single detail he had spied. Peeking through the keyhole, Yahello Shiba performed so terribly in bed that, according to his wife, he gnawed on her for a whole hour without anything happening. Then she booted him off because he's a totally useless, scrawny little dog. Ha! Will you seriously shut up, bro? Emerging straight out of the shadows, Xuanju cut him off, landing a sharp smack right across Hater's forehead, and hauling him home by the collar like a stray puppy, his heels dragging miserably along the pavement the whole trek, leaving him whining about whether we were still hunting tomorrow. Just get you but home. Got it. Crashing in my mattress, total unconsciousness claimed me within 2 seconds. Morning arrived bringing breakfast, and the exact same household drama. One, you completely ghosted me while walking past, evidently still holding a grudge over last night. Attempting to claim a chair at the main table, Pampan immediately blocked me with a sharp, "You're not sitting here," leaving me once again banished to squatting on the kitchen floor, clutching a humble bowl of porridge alongside 2 pickled radishes, isolated like a punished pup in timeout, until Wan Xiao suddenly glided into the room, quietly depositing a savory slice of braised pork right beside my bowl, before exiting without uttering a single syllable, furious enough to give me the ultimate cold shoulder, yet caring enough to sneak me some protein. This woman is easily the most baffling puzzle on planet Earth. Chunyin shoveled down her food at warp speed, putting on an Oscar-worthy performance of my non-existence, though her eyes darted toward the kitchen corner twice, catching my pathetic squatting posture on the first look, and the gifted meat on the second. Wanshu paused her chopsticks midair, holding still for 1 millisecond before casually resuming her meal. These girls literally run an entire secret communication network via meat placement and chopstick pauses, meaning I seriously need a code breaker. Right after breakfast, Haru rolled up ready to hunt down some fish, setting sights on Zhong Family Lake, his eyes practically lit up like a supernova. We grabbed a couple of beat-up nets. Borrowing an old bamboo raft from Old Seven, off we pushed onto the water. The lake looked breathtaking, sprawling across 100 acres of glittering liquid glass, with swaying reeds and jumping fish completing the vibe. My signature red dot vision instantly kicked into gear. Glowing markers were scattered everywhere beneath the surface, buried deep in the muck and clustered tightly in the southeast corner, looking like a secret underwater convention. Head left toward the southeast, Haru yelled, shoving the bamboo pole hard. Smoothly gliding across the glassy lake, we looked like total pros. Suddenly, trouble caught Haru's eye. Floating off to the northeast was another raft carrying 2 figures. It was Sheba and 6 fingers flanked by 4 trained cormorant birds, bragging elite professional fishing gear. Catching sight of us, Sheba's face immediately darkened. After last night's brutal triple humiliation, getting booted from my bedroom, shamed by his own wife after getting caught peeping, he had crawled out here at dawn, solely to haul in a massive catch and salvage his shattered ego. And yet, here we were. Haru instantly mapped out a savage battle plan. "Bro, let me ram right into their raft, knock the clown into the water, and then I'll stand right up here and pee all over his head. We'll turn him into urine soup chicken. Nah, let's chill. We're just here to fish, not throw hands." Meanwhile, over on the rival vessel, 6 Fingers was actively hyping Sheba up to start some drama. "Let's go mess them up," but Sheba had clearly learned his lesson about getting physical. Instead, casting a glance at our pathetic raft, devoid of cormorants and equipped with just 2 ragged nets, a grin spread across his face. "Forget fighting, we're going to completely outfish them. No cormorants, no fancy verts. Just a couple of ratty nets mean he won't catch a single scale. When we're sitting on a mountain of fish and he's got absolute zero, laughing right his face will hurt way more than any punch." Right on cue, all 4 cormorants were deployed into the water. Oh buddy, little do these guys know what's coming. Planting my feet firmly on the wooden planks to find my balance, I gripped the weighted net, zeroed in on the thickest cluster of red markers, and let it fly. Cutting a gorgeous arc through the crisp air like a painting, the net plunged beneath the surface, holding steady for 10-20 seconds. Yanking it upward, the surface erupted with a chaotic frenzy of thrashing, leaping fish gleaming brightly in the morning sunshine. Haru's mouth dropped into a wide-open circle. Holy crap, grass carp, crucian carp, common carp, and bro, look at those 2 giant soft-shell turtles. Over 30 pounds landed in a single throw without any birds. Zero technology, just me, a junky net, and a totally overpowered cheat code vision. Sheba and 6 Fingers stared in absolute shock from their fancy raft, watching their 4 cormorants surface empty-handed time and time again, while I hauled up an entire seafood buffet with just 1 cast. And best of all, there was plenty more where that came from. My mystical red dot cheat code had transformed Zhong Family Lake into my own personal fish market. That opening cast reeled in over 30 pounds of mixed carp, along with crucian and common varieties, plus 3 soft-shelled turtles broad as dinner plates. One throw, 0 birds. No gadgets, just me and a weather net. That looked older than my kids. All the while, Sheba and Six Fingers could only watch helplessly from their luxury vessel, armed with 4 pricey cormorants, birds that cost a pretty penny, and bills built to detach wide open. Six Fingers was having a major meltdown. Not even a single bird did he own. He just tossed a beat-up net into random waters, and somehow hauled up an entire seafood market. Were those fish totally clueless, joining a queue just to dive right into his mesh? Sheba insisted that luck was purely to blame, arguing that specific spot had to be a total jackpot zone. Hurry up and deploy the cormorants where he just fished. They sprinted straight over to my spot, releasing all 4 trained birds at once, while waiting with breathless anticipation. 30 seconds later, those 4 birds finally popped up, their total bounty being 1 lonely strand of seaweed and 3 tiny fish, each smaller than a pinky finger. Carter was laughing so hard he nearly flipped our raft over. Wow, talk about elite professionals. Turns out your cormorants are total vegetarians. Catching literal grass out there, Six Fingers. You absolute moron. I told you the fish were long gone. Six Fingers turned bright purple with fury. I swear I'll end you, Carter yelled as he jutted his neck forward and tapped his own head, daring him to bring it. Come on then, swim across and smack me right here. What's the matter? Chickening out if you stay over there. Your mama's a dog, Six Fingers spat back. He was already rolling up his sleeves to dive into the lake, when Sheba suddenly grabbed him by the collar. The guy is certified insane. An idiot taking you out means 0 consequences for him. You're literally doggy paddling straight to your own funeral. Six Fingers instantly deflated like a popped party balloon. My focus shifted to the next cluster of red dots, where another net toss yielded yet another massive haul. Grass carp, common carp, and a pair of black fish. Harder immediately spun around to trash talk them. Hey, my favorite dummy brothers. See that? Another fully loaded net. Did your high-end birds drown, or what? Sheba turned redder than a stoplight out of pure jealousy. Six Fingers, get over to his exact spot right now. Dashing over, they released the cormorants once again, only for a minute to pass before. 60 seconds later, 4 birds surfaced with beaks stuffed with literal nothingness. Not even seaweed this time, just plain mud. Six Fingers was seriously questioning the fabric of reality. Every single time I cleared a spot and moved along, they would scramble right to that exact location, behaving like starving seagulls swarming a garbage truck. And every single time they came up completely empty, because I had already vacuumed out every single living thing from those waters. With absolute surgical precision, they were literally fishing in my empty footprints. Harder kept up a non-stop color commentary, sounding like a hyped-up sports broadcaster, hosting history's most lopsided competition. Maybe you guys should get on your knees and beg my bro for lessons. Free tip number 1. Stop using birds that eat dirt. I finally signaled him to cut it out, before they genuinely snapped, and capsized our raft out of rage. Keeping our eyes on the prize, money came first. Shifting gears from messing around, I locked completely into pure cash mode. Suddenly the fishing pole went totally crazy. Just 60 minutes later, over 200 pounds of fish were hauled in, with 2 buckets overflowing and the nets jam-packed. The bamboo raft was literally going down. Dude, we are totally sinking here. There is 0 room for another catch. Sheba and Six Fingers had eventually sneaked off, looking like drowned rats without even a goodbye. They just silently paddled back to the bank and vanished in a thin air, carrying 4 useless birds and a pathetic bucket of shame. I was feeling straight up like the king of the water, when out of nowhere, cutting across the horizon, a silhouette came sprinting down the field ridge toward our spot, with hair flying everywhere and total panic on her face. It was Mom running and weeping uncontrollably. Then she tripped hard and crashed straight into the dirt path. My pulse slammed violently against my chest. I jumped off the raft and bolted toward her, hauling her up as I yelled, Mom, what happened? Why are you sprinting like this? She grabbed my arms with tears streaming down her cheeks, gasping for breath and begging me to come home right now. Something awful had happened, and just like that, the fish, the cash, and the epic win over Sheba completely ceased to matter. Because when your mother comes running to you in tears, the entire universe just grinds to a halt. Mom's words hit me like a freight train. Bow and yen are gone, and both of them are missing. My blood turned to ice as she explained through deep sobs. She and the 3 wives had gone out to work the fields, leaving Pan behind to keep an eye on the little ones. Pampan went to deliver some water to them, only to return to a completely empty house. The entire village searched everywhere with zero results. Then old Anikai stepped up, saying she spotted a man with a broken arm, escorting 2 kids south out of the village boundaries. A broken arm, you say? That total creep from the brick kiln. The exact guy whose arm I snapped like a dry twig. Back when I rescued you. He actually came back to target my little siblings. Note to self, next time I shatter someone's arm, break their other one too, along with both legs, and maybe even his spine to leave nothing working properly. Pampan came stumbling up right behind Mom, missing a shoe with wild hair blowing in the wind, and her voice completely ruined from crying. My brother and sister are gone. Why are you just standing around here? Go find them right now, she was screaming straight at me. The very man she normally calls the bad guy. The tough father she constantly protects her siblings from. And right now, in her absolute moment of terror, she was begging him to fix everything. I dropped to my knees and placed a comforting hand on her head. I'm bringing them back home, I swear it. Then I instructed Horror to sell off the fish and split the profits 50-50 with his crew. Told Mom to wait tight at home and took off running. Sprinting south like the grim Reaper himself was chasing my shadow, navigating 5 brutal miles of jagged rocks and muddy ditches, across barren fields while my bare feet were getting shredded to pieces. Yet I felt literally nothing except overwhelming dread. My strange vision suddenly unlocked a brand new shade. Black dots where red signified helpless prey, and purple meant cold hard cash, while black was a first-time sight spelling absolute disaster. Of that I was entirely certain before a sound pierced the air, amidst the rubble of a half-collapsed temple where the sky peeked through. Mama, you want mama? Nin's voice cracked in a coughing fits, hacking violently, her lungs burning. With a brutal kick, I blew the wooden door right off its creaky hinges. Stepping inside, a bulky man was shoving my terrified 6-year-old girl into a rough burlap sack, while my 4-year-old boy was pinned desperately against the concrete wall, his lips turning blue and gasping for air. And right over there, that punk with a broken arm stood clutching a stack of cash from selling my kids. The old version of me would have completely freaked out. My former self would have totally hesitated. The guy I am now snatched a heavy stone chime off the dusty floor and slammed it straight down across the fat guy's skull. He dropped instantly like a dead weight. Broken arm panicked and tried to bolt. I hurled the heavy chime right at his shins. He face-planted hard into the dirt, begging please mercy, I'll never do it again. Without a second thought, I stomped on his good leg and snapped the bone. Then hauling him outside, I permanently blinded him. Took both his eyes, and I'm not sugarcoating this or making light of it. Some wicked deeds deserve zero jokes. When you dare traffic my flesh and blood, you forfeit everything that lets you ever look at another child again. Turning back around, I strode back into the gloom. Nia was shaking so violently. She looked like she was about to shatter into pieces. Bao stayed silent without crying, though every muscle in his small body trembled. Scooping them both up at once, I held one in each arm. It's over now, Daddy's got you. Not a single soul is dragging you away from me. Nian grabbed my shirt collar like it was a literal flotation device, refusing to let go. Bao pressed his tiny face hard against my chest, slowly stopping his shakes, until sudden running footsteps echoed. Pam? Pam burst breathlessly through the doorway, having chased after me for 5 whole miles, missing a shoe because she simply couldn't bear to wait behind, catching sight of her brother and sister safe inside my arms. Every tough defensive wall she had ever built up, every bad guy facade, every sharp stick and cold stare, shattered completely into dust all at once. She sprinted toward me and threw her entire weight against my chest. Daddy, she whispered so quietly. I almost missed hearing it entirely, yet I caught every single syllable. The very first time she uttered that word in this life or any other, pulling her tightly in with my remaining free arm. The 4 of us formed a messy huddle of weeping figures inside that broken ruin. My shirt was completely drenched through with the combined tears of 3 kids. And honestly, it was so worth it. Worth every harsh word, every physical slap from Mom, every time I got kicked out of bed, every miserable meal, squatting out in the cold alone beneath the roof overhangs. All of it was worth enduring just for this single word, spoken by this one special girl, Daddy. Binding the 2 criminals securely together with ropes, I dragged them onward toward the local police station, dangling one in each hand like heavy trash bags. The children marched closely alongside me, Pam, and Nian holding hands tightly at the front, while Bao rode piggyback with his tiny arms locked securely around my neck. After walking a while, a fragile whisper brushed right past my ear. Date, are you going to hit me again, anytime soon? My stride froze instantly, my heart shattering into pieces, never in a million years. And anyone who ever dares to strike you will have to answer to me. At those words, his little arms squeezed even tighter around my neck as we pushed forward. Though Pam kept her back to me, I noticed her tense shoulders finally drop, and her grip on Nian's hand loosened for a split second, before she instinctively laced her fingers back through his, while the faintest, most peaceful expression of relief washed over her face. She had a dad now, an actual father, finally, hitting the edge of town an hour later. My name suddenly cut through the air, from somewhere near the roadside. Drenched in sweat, Potter came sprinting out of a narrow alleyway. Bro, the fish. We're totally blocked from selling them, because Dad's got a whole squad of government inspectors swarming him. They're straight up calling us criminals. Oh, fantastic. Just what I needed since today wasn't chaotic enough. What with the whole child trafficking ordeal, the eye gouging, and 3 weeping kids clinging to my back. Here's the deal with 1981. China had this strict policy called speculative profiteering laws, meaning you couldn't just slang fish on the street, like some kind of free market capitalist. You were legally required to hand over the state's cut first, via the official purchasing system. Naturally, we bypassed that step because, I don't know, my children were literally being fenced to a sketchy guy inside a temple. And who do you think snitched on us? Take a wild guess. A sleazy, thin-faced bastard, alongside a short freak rocking an extra finger on his right hand. Sheba and 6 fingers. Those absolute clowns. They couldn't outfish me to save their lives. So they sprinted to the authorities like whining kindergartners, crying out, Teacher, teacher, Teacher Luby is selling fish without paperwork. It's beyond pathetic, but crisis mode meant business first. With a quick strategy in mind, I whispered instructions to Xuanju. Go stall those inspectors, and then I marched right into the police station, dragging 2 bound criminals while towing 3 rescued kids behind me. With a heavy thud, I dropped the human traffickers onto the concrete floor. Officers, I caught these 2 red-handed. One's a child snatcher, and the other's his low-life partner. And they just tried to sell my kids. The cops glanced down at the fat man, flipped through their wanted posters, and stared back at the fat man's face. Wait a minute, is that Zhang Tsai, the nationally hunted kidnapper? He's been pinned on our bulletin board for 2 years. Their eyes lit up like they had just hit the lottery. A career-making arrest. Delivered completely gift-wrapped by a local village farmer. 20 minutes later, the station chief, Zhou Jianghua, a sharp-eyed guy with military posture, stepped out personally. Luby, you've just done us an absolute massive favor. What can we help you with? Actually, my people are getting harassed by trade inspectors at this very second for selling fish, without filling out government purchase quotas first. The only reason we skipped the paperwork was because I was too busy hunting down child abductors. Could you maybe come clear that up for us? Grabbing his cap, Joe declared, let's roll. Upon arriving back at the market, total chaos greeted us. 6 inspectors had Xuanju completely cornered. Clinging desperately to an inspector's arm like a living shackle, Haru caused a scene, while screaming at the top of his lungs. It's not illegal, my bro, was saving babies. You can't take our fish, let go. This is obstruction, kill me first. I'd rather die. Trying to pry his son off the officer, Xuanju struggled, as the inspector attempted to shake Haru loose. Acting like an unmovable barnacle of absolute justice, Haru refused to budge. Then, stepping straight through the tense crowd in his police uniform, Joe arrived, sporting his chief's badge, causing everyone to instantly freeze. This man caught a nationally wanted human trafficker. Today his children were kidnapped this morning. The fish sale was delayed because he was rescuing his kids. I'm personally vouching for him, putting away his notebook so fast it practically teleported. The lead inspector yielded. Let's get out of here. If Chief Joe vouches for him, we'll let it slide this time. They left. Collapsing flat onto the dusty ground, Harrow gave out, swimming in a puddle of his own cold sweat. Nearly hitting the hard pavement, Xuanju's shaky legs finally buckled. Shout by if you hadn't shown up. Harrow and I would be in a labor camp right now. How are you so smart sending Harrow to stall? Why you want to get the police chief as backup? One move and the whole thing solved. I kept some fish for home. Blackfish for Chunyan, Crucian carp for Wan Chao. Turtles for cooking. Heading over to the government purchasing office next, I took care of business. Like a good citizen, completed the quota paperwork, got the official receipt, and then sold the rest through our regular guy. Shun, she total. 120 yuan split with Shuangju. He insisted on only taking 40 instead of 60. Because you saved us from prison today. Stubborn old man, I let him win that argument. Joe handed over his personal phone number to me. Call me anytime you need help. That's a police chief's direct line. In 1981, rural China. That's basically a golden ticket. Just as I was about to herd the kids home, Li Dazhuang came marching over, striding over from across the market, with someone behind him, a man in his 40s, wearing a faded military green uniform, maintaining rigid posture with a fountain pen tucked proudly in his breast pocket, sharp intelligent eyes, scanning me up and down, like he was evaluating livestock at an auction. Brother Liu Bei, this is Director Fan, the head of Big Lu Mountain Forestry Station. He came specifically looking for you. The head of the entire mountain forestry operation was actually looking for me, a former village deadbeat, who just learned to hunt 3 days ago. Why the forestry director, an actual government official, wanted to hire me. Leopards had invaded the west slope of Big Blue Mountain, where one beast nearly made a meal out of a terrified lumberjack. Another killed 3 guard dogs. 60 workers were too scared to go to work. Kill the leopards, keep everything you hunt. And I'll owe you a personal favor. A favor from the man who controls every single quality timber log standing across the mountain range. Materials were heavily required for constructing my brand new home. This arrangement essentially functioned as a blank check with a signature ready. Suddenly Shuangju pulled me aside, completely freaking out. Wild leopards aren't exactly like ordinary barnyard pigs. They move insanely fast, and one swift swipe will leave your intestines hanging out. Don't worry, Uncle. Fortune heavily favors the bold adventurer. He locked his gaze directly into my eyes, spotted something resolute that made him swallow his words and nod. Strict secrecy was ordered to every single person present. If the women in my household ever discovered my leopard hunting plans, those wild beasts would honestly be the least lethal threat. Striving to take my life, Horror instantly busted out his signature move. Classic selective deafness, whispering huh and what. Not a single sound reached my ears, and what even is a leopard? Who dared mention any leopards around here? This absolute clown turns into a total genius when it suits him. Everyone got escorted by me down to the state restaurant for a proper feast. Never before had the kids laid eyes on such an overwhelming spread. Nian's excessive drool practically looked ready to fill up a swimming pool. Bao attacked his humble rice bowl as if the dish owed him money. Even Pan Pan allowed a juicy pig trotter to be placed in her bowl. Dig right in, I urged her warmly, prompting a quiet She merely nodded rhythmically while chewing away. No bad guys lurking around. No sharpened wooden sticks in sight, just pure progress. Horror managed to inhale half a fluffy steam bun in a single bite. His cheeks ballooned outward, resembling an agitated bullfrog. Then he turned to yell at his old man. Eat up, Dad. Build up your maximum stamina, so you can last significantly longer when sparring with Mom tonight. Shuangju fell into a frozen, 1,000-yard stare. Retail therapy took over immediately after lunch concluded. Sweet candy for all 3 kids alongside fresh clothes for Nian, featuring a vibrant red floral print and a fresh jacket for Bao. Pan Pan carefully selected cozy corduroy pants paired with a white floral blouse, followed closely by 4 distinct dresses, pale green for Yui, navy blue polka dots chosen for Wan Xiao, dark red for Chunyan, and a classy black floral jacket for Mom. Shuangju watched helplessly as I hemorrhaged a small fortune, causing his left eye to begin twitching violently. Securing an ox cart ride back, Nian drifted right to sleep in my arms. Bao dozed peacefully against my shoulder while Pan Pan sat directly across, clutching her brand new garments and staring out at the open fields, with the softest, tiniest smile gracing her features. Such an aesthetic moment accompanied by a peaceful journey home. Not a single thing could disrupt this vibe, except for the fact that during our absence, Sherbei and Six Fingers had staged a comeback into the village, hosting an impromptu press conference beneath the massive shade tree. Gather around, everyone, because I bring catastrophic news. Liu Bei and the entire Fan family just got busted for illicit trading. Local government inspectors confiscated every single asset they owned. Now they're being hauled off to a grueling labor camp, serving a minimum sentence of 3 years. Sherbei slapped on his finest Oscar-worthy expression of deep concern. Personal friction always existed between Liu Bei and myself. Yet we remain neighbors, making it genuinely painful to witness his sudden arrest. Nonetheless, the law remains the ultimate law. 6 fingers chimed in dramatically while thumping his chest. These eyes witnessed the whole ordeal firsthand, as a total of 6 strict inspectors surrounded them. Xuanju felt his knees turn to jelly, muttering that if Brother Shirbei and I hadn't stepped up to beg for their lives. Chaos erupted across the village as gossip spread faster than wildfire. A panicked villager sprinted directly toward our homestead, shouting, "Sister Day, your precious son has finally been taken away in handcuffs," causing Mom to drop her cleaver. Chunyin bolted past everyone as the first person out the door, demanding to know who dared spread such lies about Shirbei and 6 fingers, while instantly snatching up a heavy butcher knife straight from the kitchen counter. Those lying scumbags are totally getting it from me. A heavy wooden club was snatched up by Mom. A bamboo pole was grabbed by Wanchio while yelling to wait for her. Even the sweet and timid soul brought up the rear with a skinny stick in hand. A tiny weapon, yet she refused to be left out. 4 heavily armed women marched forward like an angry army, reaching the big tree first. Chunyin slammed her knife right into the stone stool. It missed Shirbei's hand by a mere 3 inches. The guy nearly lost his balance. "Did you actually witness my husband getting arrested with your own eyes?" Mom stepped right behind her, brandishing her club. "You 2 absolute clowns keep spreading trash. I'm gonna wreck your faces, but 6 fingers try to play it smart. You better check the law instead, Annie. None of us are the bad guys here. The moment you strike us with those weapons, that's full-on assault and you're heading straight to prison." Frozen in midair, Mom's club stopped because he actually had a point. Damn him, Shirbei immediately jumped in with fake sympathy. "We're only trying to look out for you, Annie. It's way better coming from us than having the cops show up at your front door." A few villagers even started nodding along. He's not wrong. Luby was always a bit of a gambler. Maybe the guy really was doing shady stuff. My 4 women stood there fully armed, boiling with rage, yet completely outsmarted by 2 weasels who weaponized toxic gossip. Chunyin was so mad, she literally lost her voice. Manchia turned pale, and Yuhi started shaking. The entire village watched closely from behind Mom. Right then, from the entrance of the village, an ox cart came to a screeching halt. Hoda's voice echoed loudly across the open square. "Shirbei, 6 fingers, you spineless cowards. Get out here right now, so I can deal with you." Every head whipped around, and there I was on the back of the cart. Nien was tucked in one arm, right beside me, while Pan Pan stood at the edge, clutching shopping bags. Packages were piled high all over the cart. I was definitely not in prison and definitely not arrested. Super alive and bringing brand new clothes back for everybody. 6 fingers' face instantly turned the shade of spoiled milk. "That's impossible. They were supposed to be locked up. What are we supposed to do now, Brother Shirbei?" "Yeah, Shirbei. How do you plan to handle this when your massive lie just rolled right up to the village gate on a cart, munching on white rabbit candy?" I made my grand entrance back into the village on an ox cart, feeling like an absolute conqueror. The very first thing catching my eye was every single person staring directly at me, like I had literally crawled out of the grave. Shirbei and 6 fingers. Their expressions were totally priceless. You could practically hear their brains processing a fatal error. Those 2 clowns had ratted me and Uncle Xuanju out to the authorities for illegal trading, probably celebrating with imaginary champagne in their heads. Yet here I stood completely free, without a single scratch and my kid safe and sound. "So please, idiot." My mom sprinted toward me, first of all, charging like a heat-seeking missile. My collar is being flipped up while I'm patted down thoroughly. Sleeves rolled right up, giving me the full airport security treatment. "Are you injured anywhere? Does it ache? Let mommy take a look, my dear." Being a grown man doesn't change the fact, honestly, that it felt low-key comforting. Not a single hair was lost, as I assured her, leading to a long-awaited exhale, as though she'd been holding her breath since yesterday. Then the waterworks started flowing. Nian Nian and Lu Bao were scooped right up into Grandma's arms, squeezing them tight, like she wanted to fuse them into a single child. Stumbling over in a hurry, Yueha grabbed hold of Nian Nian, causing my little girl to bury her face straight into her mom's chest, and just let all her emotions out. Lu Bao's face was grabbed by Zhao Chunyan for a thorough inspection, just like a quality control inspector would do. "Still coughing?" "Nope." Instant tears arrived as Lin Wan Xiao walked up quietly to Pan Pan. Pan Pan was still tightly clutching that brand new outfit I had bought her earlier. My wife gently brushed the stray hair from our daughter's forehead, prompting Pan Pan to look up and say, "Mom, The little ones are completely fine. A soft nod came from you. You're home now, and that's plenty. Silence often speaks way louder than 1,000 words. You know what I mean. Anyway, enough of the sweet stuff. It's time for business. Walking straight up to Fonzie Bay without hesitation. I didn't utter a single word at first. Just stared right at him and let the tension build up. Then I calmly asked him what was wrong, looking totally disappointed and surprised that he hadn't expected this. The moment his mouth opened to reply, bam, left cheek got slapped. It was a clean hit with absolute textbook form. If I do say so myself, shall. Six Fingers completely lost his mind, yelling, Luby, you're out of your mind. How on earth dare you hit someone in front of the entire village? Right cheek is getting slapped this time, I swear. Symmetry is important here, Luby. Hit my bro one more time, and number 3 is getting slapped, Luby. I am literally going to slap number 4 right now. Here is the funny thing about Fanchi Bay, though. As dumb as he is, he figured out the pattern way faster than Six Fingers did. Every single time Six Fingers opened his mouth to talk, my hand instantly connected with his face. Such a beautiful cause and effect loop. Newton would be genuinely proud. Zhao Six Fingers. Shut your trap. Fauci Bay screamed loudly. Tears are practically flying every time you breathe a word. And I keep getting slapped. Are you actually helping or trying to kill me? If you genuinely want to help, then fight him yourself. And do something constructive. Instead of just running your mouth endlessly. Six Fingers, bless his sweet little heart, actually try to step up to the plate. I won't let you take hits for free, Luby. I'm going to teach you And that is precisely when my boy Hot Air came in clutch. Out of nowhere, and I mean completely nowhere, Hot Air lunged sideways from the shadows and grabbed Xiao Six Fingers right by the crotch, delivering a full 5-finger death grip. The ancient monkey steals the peaches move was deployed. Peak efficiency was delivered by this classic technique with a brutal crunch. Every single guy standing in that massive crowd instinctively crosses legs simultaneously, and I am not even capping. A collective gasp was heard by me. Powerful enough to vacuum every ounce of air straight out of the village. Six Fingers curled right up into a shrimp-like shape as he dropped onto the dirt floor, howling in pain. My GS. My precious eggs got smashed were his words as he pointed frantically at thin air, shivering uncontrollably while threatening to call the cops. An arrest is coming for you, and jail time is next. Right down beside him, I squatted low, keeping my vibe completely chill and friendly. Go ahead and dial their number right now. The second those officers arrive, I will let them know that false charges were filed against Uncle Sean and me by you too. Pure defamation. Severe emotional distress inflicted on my entire family alongside lost wages. Every single penny will be billed to you. Oh yeah. Plus those 6 officers dispatched from the Trade Bureau, who rushed down to the market completely for nothing, wasting government time and resources. Can you guess who's catching those criminal charges? A reassuring pat was given to Hot Air's shoulder by me. Besides, everyone officially recognizes Hot Air as the village idiot anyway. That fact is common knowledge around here. Even a certified fool could commit murder and walk away free. Do you really think anyone would prosecute him for simply squeezing your tiny grapes? Go ahead and make that official report. Patiently, I will wait right here. Wide open remained Six Fingers' mouth while silence came out just like a stranded fish on dry land. Suddenly, Village Secretary Fan Xinyuan made his grand entrance, causing the gathered crowd to part immediately like the Red Sea. Dressed in his signature gray mouse suit, he strolled right into the center, with a cigarette dangling lazily, wearing that trademark smile that never quite reached his cold eyes. 3 swift slaps went bam, 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 landing squarely across the face of Six Fingers. That punishment was totally earned, and then he spun around toward Fanchi Bay, delivering 3 more sharp smacks while calling him an absolute embarrassment. As your uncle, I am disgusted that my good name has been dragged through the mud by you. An apology directed toward us was demanded of them right then. Six Fingers protested that they were the actual victims who got hit, making an apology completely unjustified. Without raising his voice even a fraction, Secretary Fan simply stated in a casual tone that apologies could be skipped. But starting from this exact moment, every single favor from me is cut off. Especially you, Fanchi Bay. Do not ever address me as your uncle again. Visible trembling took over Fanchi Bay's entire frame. Look at that. Having the village secretary as his uncle was literally his only powerful card to play. Stripped of that connection, he was an absolute nobody. Merely a loudmouth individual sporting a severely swollen face. A pathetic sorry was forced out of his mouth, as if uttering it caused him physical agony. A muffled apology was muttered right after by Six Fingers as well. Turning back toward me, Secretary Fan flashed a warm and welcoming grin. Xiao Bai, we are all part of the same family here. This was nothing more than a silly misunderstanding. Feel free to approach me whenever assistance is needed. Just like that, in an instant, those two pathetic stooges slunk away down the dim alley, looking like a couple of beaten dogs heading back home. The task of handing out presents officially began. Mom received a gorgeous dark pattern jacket paired with gray pants. Instantly, a stern lecture came firing back at me. For wasting precious funds meant for our future house. Even as her fingers stroked the soft fabric 3 distinct times, while pressing it against her body to test the fit. That was pure, unfiltered mom energy. Next up, Wancho got her navy blue polka dot dress. Her response was a simple, quiet thanks delivered in her signature style. A pale green cotton dress was handed over to Yuaha. Softly, she expressed her gratitude to me, adding a sweet, and thank you for bringing Yin Yin back home. My reply was that Yin Yin is literally my flesh and blood, meaning no real father would ever abandon his own kid. A subtle flutter hit her eyelashes. Her teeth caught her lower lip as absolute silence took over. Then came Chunyin's turn to receive her dark red khaki skirt. Her lips parted slightly, allowing me to catch a glimpse of a snarky remark brewing inside. Yet, for the very first time in recorded history, absolutely zero words escaped her mouth. She simply grabbed the skirt and retreated indoors, without dropping a single sharp comment. Honestly, that eerie quiet felt way more unsettling than getting locked up by the cops. Gifts out of the way, I presented Mom with a fresh fish and 2 soft shell turtles for our dinner, before pulling out the remaining 50 yuan bill and sliding it directly to Wan Xiao. A brief skin-to-skin brush occurred, causing her to flinch slightly as the cash exchanged hands. Her gaze dropped to the bills before snapping right back up to my face. Rising slowly onto her tiptoes, she leaned in close and whispered right against my ear. Tonight my door won't be locked. I'll leave it cracked open just a little bit. Well then. Sleep is definitely canceled for tonight. Right after Wan Xiao dropped that massive bombshell, stating she'd leave her door open a crack tonight, she grabbed Pan Pan's hand and marched straight inside, acting as if she hadn't just detonated a nuke inside my skull while I stood frozen in place, like a forgotten museum statue gathering dust. You have to realize something. This woman used to secure her door with 3 heavy deadbolts whenever I came within 5 feet of it. In fact, I am pretty sure she seriously considered barricading a wardrobe against it too. Yet here she is, voluntarily leaving it open for me. A tiny crack is all a guy needs, baby. A little crack is more than enough. While my heart did backflips, and my brain immediately started drafting victory speeches. A cloud of pure euphoria was about to lift me up into the courtyard air until Yu Hao suddenly strolled past my spot. Carrying Yin Yin, she moved at a deliberate, agonizingly slow pace, glancing back at me over her shoulder with an intense gaze. Her lips parted like she was ready to drop some words, only to snap shut again, before slipping into her side room without another syllable. Even so, that graceful exit of hers, marked by that smooth, effortless sway of her hips. Good Lord, my Adam's apple bounced so violently in my throat. It's a miracle it didn't launch right out of my neck. Just you wait, you're next, huh? My inner monologue cheered. Tonight, I conquer Wanchio. And tomorrow you're up, because I'm going to have you calling me boss in no time. Suddenly, a rough, fish scale-covered hand landed a brutal smack against the back of my head, causing me to spin around and find Mom standing there, hands planted on her hips, staring me down with absolute fury, as though I were the absolute dimwit of her entire offspring. What are you standing there daydreaming about? You think I've got 6 arms? Get in this kitchen and deal with these fish and turtles. Right now, yes ma'am. Dropping the daydream right away because reality is calling. I'm a fish gutting machine now. Mom shoved the fish at me. Chunyin wants the black fish. Wan Xiao mentioned she wanted crucian carp soup. Get to it now, I'm not a doctor, but I know a thing or two. Blackfish is good for the kidneys and the lower back. Stamina food Russian carp helps with, let's say, milk production. Kidney boost, milk boost. Was Mom trying to tell me something? Was this some kind of ancient mother-son fertility conspiracy? I didn't ask questions. My knife suddenly moved 3 times faster. I was gutting fish like a man possessed, splitting bellies, ripping out innards. I looked like I was training for the fish gutting Olympics. Mom sighed, I mean, you're awfully motivated today. I'll be motivated every day from now on. Less talking, more turtle flipping. Don't let it escape, yes ma'am. 2 hours later, that kitchen was a wonderland. Soft shell turtle stew in a big clay pot. The broth thick and creamy white. Braised black fish cut into fat chunks and stacked beautifully in a big bowl. Glazed in dark sauce crucian carp and tofu soup. Milky white, with little green onion flowers floating on top. Gorgeous fresh greens picked straight from our garden, plus leftover meat from lunch. 7 dishes total covering the whole table. Nyen Nyen was the first one at the table. Obviously, Little Goblin had her hands gripping the edge, nose working overtime. Drool practically waterfalling into the bowls. Lu Bao dragged over a little stool and sat down, all quiet and serious. But his eyes were ping-ponging between the fish and the turtle like he was watching a tennis match. Pan sat next to her sister and wiped Nyen Nyen's drool. Big sister energy always. Then Chun Yen walked out and hold on. She was wearing the dark red khaki skirt I bought her. The hem hit just below the knees. The waist cinched perfectly, showing off every curve of that tall figure. I only glanced once, my heart slammed. This woman's body is absolutely criminal. Next time I need to do a thorough inspection. Leave nothing unchecked. Everyone gathered at the table. All present and accounted for. Now to have it. I grabbed a bowl and turned toward the kitchen. See, ever since I came back to life in this body, every single meal has been the same. The kids didn't want me at the table, so I'd scoop some food and squat. In the kitchen alone, can't blame anyone but myself. The old Luby was garbage. This is just me clearing out what he owes. Scarcely had I taken a single step when a voice called out, Dad. Halting in my tracks, I asked, What is it, Pan Pan? Before I could even spin around, a pair of tiny hands clamped onto my pant legs. Glancing downward, Nyen Nyen stood to my left, while Lu Bao anchored my right. Both gazed up at me with those giant expressive eyes. Daddy, eat. Nyen Nyen piped up, followed by Lu Bao echoing, Time to eat. Stepping forward then, Pan Pan snatched the bowl right out of my hands and declared, Dad, you've totally leveled up and left your old toxic self behind. A decent father ought to grab a seat at the table and dine with us. Casting a quick glance back at Wanchio, she received a subtle nod of approval. A burning sensation flared across my nose and eyes, engulfing my entire face. Tossing my head back, I forced those stubborn tears to retreat, pushing them down entirely through sheer willpower. This exact moment is what I've been waiting for, ever since consciousness returned to me in this second life. And it finally arrived. All right, I managed to choke out, clasping Nyen Nyen's hand in one palm, while resting my free hand on Lu Bao's shoulder, before walking over to the table alongside all 3 kids. We gathered together as a family to share a meal, marking a first since my rebirth. Mom dabbed at her damp eyes using her sleeve, saying, all right, dig in before the food goes stone cold, placing a piece of boneless fish on Nyen Nyen's plate. I followed up by ladling a bowl of turtle soup for Lu Bao, adding, you two are still growing fast, so drink up to build those bones strong. Lu Bao nodded vigorously, instantly slurping his soup so loudly it sounded like he was trying to vacuum up the bowl itself. Then Pan Pan, my sweet and fearless eldest daughter, picked up a hearty chunk of braised black fish, using her chopsticks, dropped it straight into my bowl, and stated, Dad, you busted your tail today, so you need to eat as well. Gazing down at that lone piece of fish resting in my bowl, an overwhelming urge to burst into full-blown tears hit me hard. Complete waterwork style, but I am a grown man. Losing my cool in front of the kids is out of the question. I gotta keep it together, absolutely hold it together. Chun Yen kept her head down and ate in absolute silence, not throwing out a single snarky comment the entire time. Yet I noticed. She quietly went back for 3rd helpings of that black fish. Girl, I see right through you. You adore that gift, and you're low-key obsessed with that fish, even if you stubbornly refuse to admit it out loud. As soon as dinner wrapped up, Nyen Nyen grabbed my hand, pleading, Daddy, play. Play what? Pan Pan chimed in, while Lu Bao popped up silently beside them, his expression broadcasting a clear message. Dad, please play with us, come on. All right, fine, I'm playing the fierce eagle tonight. Rolling up my sleeves and spreading my arms wide, I arched my back and pulled off my most intimidating face. Balked. The eagle has landed. Ha ha ha. Screaming with laughter, Nian Yin scrambled to hide behind Pan Pan, leaving Lu Bao trailing at the very end of the line, his little legs stumbling over themselves in a frenzy, until my arms scooped him up and hoisted him high above my head. Gotcha now, this little chick is definitely becoming stew tonight. Though Olo Luba squirmed and thrashed wildly against me, a massive, full-on grin spread across his face. It was the absolute first time I had ever witnessed this kid smile. He used to always shrink away into himself whenever I was around, with his shoulders hunched and head dropped down like a frightened little turtle. Sound waves of laughter flooded the courtyard, coming in wave after relentless wave. Seated quietly on the doorstep, Mom watched us with a gentle gaze, as she wiped away stray tears from the corners of her eyes. A genuine sense of hope was finally returning to this family. Down in the kitchen, Wanxia was busy washing plates, and she sneaked a quick peek through the window, catching all four of us laughing together out there, causing the edge of her mouth to curve upward just a tiny bit. Just outside her room, Yueha sat resting on a low wooden stool, while slowly fanning herself against the warmth. Yet her gaze followed Nian Yin closely the entire time, a faint smile also lingering softly on her lips. Meanwhile, Chunyin had locked herself completely inside her room, where she was apparently trying on the white floral blouse that I had purchased for her earlier, putting it on and stripping it right back off, before swapping it for the vibrant red skirt, then switching back to the blouse again, as she spun around repeatedly in front of her old bronze mirror. Come on, girl, just admit that you're low-key obsessed with the fit. It's totally fine because my lips are sealed. Nighttime finally fell, and the three kids went off to sleep with Grandma. Nian Yin passed out first in the bed. Lu Bao dropped second, and Pan Pan was the last one out. Silence reclaimed the courtyard as Yueha retreated to her side room. Wanxia headed off toward the east wing, and Chunyin disappeared into the west wing. Right around 8 p.m., I snuck out of my quarters moving like a stealthy ninja on a secret mission. My path first took me past Chunyin's doorway, where I noticed her door wasn't shut all the way, standing slightly ajar, just like last time. A literal invitation through the crack. Next, I turned my attention toward Wanxia's east wing, where her door was left partially open too. She actually went and did it, leaving a clear opening for me, just as she promised. I froze in place, glancing towards Sun Yin's door, then back to Wanxia's, before checking Yueha's side room for laughs. That entrance was bolted down like Fort Knox, completely sealed shut with zero light coming through. Not a single sliver of light or millimeter of gap existed. That door was locked tighter than someone who owed back rent, leaving me stranded right there in the courtyard, facing the absolute biggest dilemma of my entire existence. Spanning across both lives, two distinct rooms, two open cracks, and only one pour me. Unfortunately, I don't possess any shadow clone jutsu, nor can I magically split myself down the middle, since I only have one pair of legs to walk with. The real question is whose bed should I sneak into tonight, Wanxia's or Chunyin's, presenting the hardest decision any mortal man has ever been forced to make. Forget Sophie's choice, this is straight up Liu Bei's choice. Here, and the high-stakes pressure has never felt more real. I was standing out under the night sky, looking totally clueless, trying hard to solve the toughest math equation of my life, even though it had zero to do with actual numbers. To break down my current predicament for you, I'm dealing with two rooms and two different women. Both doors cracked open just enough to signal something big. Step right in, handsome, make yourself at home. Without speaking a single word out loud on the left side, that woman Xiao Chunyin had freshly washed her hair, slapped on face cream, zipped into the red dress I bought her, and stretched out sideways on the mattress like a high-fashion model. Why pose sideways, you ask? Because rumor has it that's the ultimate illusion for looking extra curvy. And aesthetic, catch my drift? Not that I'm knocking her game plan. I'm just pointing out she was locked, in position like a sniper tracking down her target. And yours truly happened to be the target. Over on the right wing sat Lin Wanxiao, my other better half, who had also taken a bath, buttoned her blue polka dot dress, all the way up to her collarbone, like an absolute lady, then flattened out on her back, with her palms neatly crossed over her stomach, resembling someone waiting for a physical exam at the clinic. Though don't let appearances fool you. Beneath all those layers of fabric, trust me, the scenery was low-key breathtaking, reminding me of juicy spring peaches. If you catch my vibe, both of them were resting there, obsessing over the exact same thing. Why on earth hasn't this clown walked through the door yet? While sharing the exact same paranoid suspicion. He's definitely hanging out in the other room right now. Meanwhile, where was your boy? Stuck dead center in the courtyard, like a helpless mule trapped between two stacks of hay. Totally frozen because I couldn't pick a damn door. Head left and the right side goes ballistic. Head right and the left side blows up completely. This wasn't just some casual romantic choice. This felt like defusing a ticking time bomb. So I did what any logical genius would do. I squatted in the dirt, snatched up 2 blades of dried grass from the ground, and decided to let fate dictate my love life via a game of drawing straws. Long straw means Wan Shao. Short straw means Chun Yen. Squeezing my eyes shut, I shuffled them behind my back and reached out to pull one out when suddenly bang, bang, bang. Somebody started hammering on the front gate, as if the apocalypse had arrived. Are you actually kidding me right now? I stomped across the yard and yanked the gate open, fully prepared to chew someone out, only to find 4 guys standing there, looking like they just caught a glimpse of a ghost. There was neighborhood chief Fan Air, my buddy Li Dazhuang, old Shuangju, and his boy Har. Every single one of them dripping in sweat, with faces bleached white as printing paper. Liu Bei, someone's been killed. Fan Air gripped my arm so viciously I thought it was going to snap. Turns out one of their veteran loggers had headed out to the west slope to take a dump, and never made it back. When they tracked him down, they only found the top half of him. Everything from the waist down had simply vanished into thin air, with internal organs scattered everywhere. That leopard, the exact one I kept hearing whispers about, had treated the poor guy like an all-you-can-eat buffet, and barely bothered finishing the lower courses. Instantly, every single worker at the camp packed their gear, since nobody wanted to be next on the menu. Now, seasoned hunters live by a strict code. Once any predator acquires a taste for human meat, it's game over and you gotta take it down. Apparently our flavor profile hits different to them, ranking right up there with 5-star gourmet takeout for wild beasts. And once they get that first bite, they keep pulling up for seconds. Sitting a mere 10 miles away from our village lies the logging camp. Today it's munching on workers. Tomorrow it could be low-key, snacking on grandmas and kids. Consider it handled, I announced. Faner's eyes flushed bright red. The guy looked like he was ready to ugly cry, and squeezed me in a massive bear hug all at once. Now here rolled the tricky part. I had to drop it on my wives, that I was slipping out dead of night to hunt down a man-eating leopard except I literally couldn't breathe a word about it being a big cat, because otherwise they'd lock me down to the mattress. And trust me, not in a fun way. So I strolled over to Wang Yu's door and nudged her awake. I could practically hear her pulse spiking through the wood, with pure hype on the other side. She had been camping out all night waiting for this exact vibe. Yeah, what is it? She piped up trying to sound super chill and failing big time. The forestry boss says wild hogs are trashing his timber. Word got out I'm a sharpshooter, so he wants me to bag some pigs. He mentioned I get to keep all the bacon. Absolute W right. Gotta bounce, lock the door. Night fam, don't wait up. I pivoted to leave before she could start arguing. Creak went her door, swinging open. She stepped out wearing a deeply stressed expression, warning me that wild boars are seriously dangerous. Maybe I should skip it, and maybe I should head back inside instead. Creak went the other door, opening up. Chunyan was leaning casually against her doorframe. Her crimson dress hiked way up past her knees. That red silk top, accentuating her sharp collarbones under the silver moonlight, with her arms crossed tight. She gave me a look like I was the biggest clown on the planet. Oh, so you got lucky taking down one pig, and now you think you're main character material. Want a flatline, go right ahead. Rather stay alive than march your butt right over here. I've got some heavy-duty topics we need to unpack. I arched an eyebrow at heavy-duty topics. You actually convinced this is major? I glanced back and forth at my 2 wives, standing silhouette style in the pale moonlight, and I swear my brain nearly suffered a total system crash. Chunyan leaned against her casing, striking a pose like a movie poster in her pulled-up red dress, her collarbones glowing ethereally in the moonlight, basically broadcasting. You shall not pass unless your next step is straight into my bedroom. While Wang Yu stood frozen in her buttoned-up blue dress, looking all prim proper and completely innocent. Yet her gaze was locked dead onto me, like a heat-seeking missile zeroing in. One was launching an aggressive offensive while the other played low-key defense. I'm dead serious if I cross the threshold of either room tonight. The neglected woman would literally level this entire house to the ground. All the positive social credit I'd been farming since my respawn, gone completely poof. Reset straight back to factory zero. So taking a deep breath, I dropped my ultimate wild card. There is something you both seem to be forgetting. A house is something I need to build, I told them, flashing a wide grin. Do you seriously think our cash stack is big enough? We can barely afford the foundation blocks. Let's be real. Word just came from the forestry chief himself. Every single wild boar I take down is mine to keep. Roughly 80 pounds of pure meat comes off just one pig. That adds up to dozens of meals once winter rolls around. Would you rather freeze your butts off, stuck in this cramped shack with the kids? Chunyan's seductive vibe completely died right there on her face. An argument formed on her lips, but what could she possibly say out loud? Forget about the money, and come keep my blanket warm instead. Even SHE knew better than to drop that bomb publicly. Giving it one more shot, Wan Chio spoke up. Heading deep into those dark mountains in the middle of the night is just crazy. Chill out, old Xuanju, there's nothing to stress about. Daejeon along with a whole squad of guys are heading out there with me. Flying solo isn't happening, so I'll be totally fine. Reaching into the shed, I grab my trusty hunting rifle and march toward the gate, saying, go get some sleep. Don't stay up waiting for me. Good night. Suddenly, Mama's bedroom door creaked slowly open. Wrapped in an old, weather-beaten jacket, she stood silently in the doorway. Harsh moonlight etched the deep lines of her face into an even harsher map of wrinkles. My stomach dropped straight to the floor, oh man. If Mom tells me I can't go through with this, I'm totally screwed because saying no to Mom is impossible. Please don't try to stop me, Mom. Who said anything about the money? I'm not holding you back. Cutting me off mid-sentence, she simply added, just watch your step out there. A quick blink was followed by a massive grin on my face. You got nothing to worry about, Ma. Your boy is built like a tank. Slinging the rifle over my shoulder with a casual shrug, I strolled past that gate like an absolute boss. Right behind my back, absolute chaos broke loose instantly. Spinning toward Mom, Wanchio demanded, why on earth didn't you stop him? That whole trip is a major hazard. Before Mom could even catch her breath, Chunyan jumped right into the fray. Oh, so now you're suddenly all worried. Back when I was actually trying to talk him out of it. Where were you hiding? Oh right, cowering behind me. Playing the sweet, innocent wife, Wanchio snapped right back. Words were literally on the tip of my tongue. But you burst out of your bedroom doors first like a maniac, and sucked up all the oxygen in the room, leaving nothing for me to do. Oh sure, Chunyan, make it sound like it's entirely my fault now. And Wan Xiao, why did you even crawl out of your room anyway? He certainly didn't bother knocking on your door. Were you trying to hook him into your bedroom for another round? Let me remind you geniuses that the two of you are officially divorced. Pulling that stunt counts as a massive moral conduct violation. If someone decides to drop a report, he's the one facing the heavy penalties. Are you secretly trying to throw him in prison or what? Oof, Wan Xiao went straight for the jugular with that one. Chunyan's face drained to a ghost white, flashed bright red, and then went dead white again because Wan Xiao wasn't wrong at all. Personal reputation was something she could care less about. But her precious son Liu Bao was a different story. The kid had just barely started calling me dad recently. Getting dragged down by some messy scandal would ruin everything. Both bedroom doors banged shut with a loud finality, leaving Mom, that brilliantly cunning old mastermind, to casually stretch her arms, let out a yawn, and smile quietly to herself. What an incredible live show, right? In Mom's twisted little calculus, the equation was crystal clear. The more viciously these two fought over her favorite boy, the deeper their hidden affection for him actually ran. Once the new place is built, and I tie the knot again, every single one of my 3 wives is going to pop out a grandson, and boom, the Liu family bloodline is back on top. She drifted off to sleep picturing chubby grandbabies. Legend. Meanwhile, yours truly was stuck bouncing on an ox cart, hurtling straight toward a man-eating leopard, and out of nowhere, the vibe shifted into a full-on relationship advice masterclass. Fanner. The forestry chief spun around to look at me. So Luby, those 3 ex-wives of yours, they're all still living under your roof, and somehow nobody's caught a body yet. How the hell do you pull that off? Before I could even drop an answer, all 3 dudes suddenly locked in with peak interest. Old Shuangju put on a show staring at the moon, while his head was low-key angling in my direction. Like a satellite dish, De Zhuang literally turned his whole upper body around completely, just sitting there, staring me down like an eager freshman on day 1 of lecture. And lo and behold, that kid scuttled across the cart floor, clutched my sleeve, and basically screamed right in my grill, "Big bro Lou, please drop the cheat codes for us. You gotta school my old man. Every time he wrestles Mom in bed, he takes a massive L. She mounts him and throws hands. It's tragic. Save him, man." Fanner nearly choked on his pipe. huffing so hard I honestly thought he was checking out. Dajun slapped both palms over his mouth to stay quiet, while old Shuangju's eyebrows shot straight up like Roman candles. And he cocked his fist to smack his kid. Are you even my seed? Why are you out here airing out my private business to the public? Haru instinctively turtled his neck, muttering, well, it's facts, though. Fact my ass. Xuanju flared up looking like an active volcano, until he caught sight of Haru's big, blocky face that was an absolute carbon copy of his own, and slowly let his fist drop. Fine. The kid's definitely mine. I'll let it slide this once. I was low-key dying inside, fighting back laughter so fiercely. My abs were getting a hardcore workout. Finally, I cleared my throat and slapped on my serious poker face. All right, you guys actually want to know how to manage a woman and make her so loyal she dive off a cliff for you? You point east, she charges east. You point west, she sprints west. For pairs of eyes locked onto me instantly, as if I was about to drop the secrets of the universe. Dazhuang literally stopped steering the cart altogether. I held up 2 fingers, just 2 simple tricks. That's all it takes. What? Only 2 tricks? All 4 of them hollered in unison. Right as I parted my lips to speak, the cart slammed right into a massive boulder, bucking the whole vehicle violently like a rodeo bull. All 5 of us nearly went flying face first into the dirt. Once we managed to grab onto anything solid, Haru bounced back the fastest. Bro, please just spill it already. What are the 2 tricks? All right. So Haru was practically vibrating out of his skin. Bro, seriously, tell us what those 2 tricks are. I raised a single finger, taking my sweet time to build up the tension. Trick number 1. Your gun game has to be top tier. Dajuan scratched his noggin looking like a deeply confused puppy. What on earth do shooting skills have to do with women, anyway? Literally everything, I fired back, giving the stock of my rifle a gentle pat. Good marksman training leads to solid hunting trips. Great game trails translate straight into heavy stacks of cash. Once the wallet's heavy, you can treat your lady to a proper home. Stunning dresses and luxury skincare products. To stack all that gear right in front of her and honestly tell me, is she ever going to walk out on you? She'll trail behind you everywhere like a loyal puppy. Feiner nodded slowly, looking like some kind of ancient wise sage. Makes total sense. A well-fed stomach keeps the mind at peace. Old Shuangju chimed in right after, fully vibing with the take. No cap, that's airtight logic. Yet De Zhuang, gotta hand it to the guy, instantly blew a massive hole straight through my whole speech. Hold up a second, bro. You were completely broke back when you didn't even hunt, and you literally gambled away every last penny. How come your 3 wives still stuck by your side through all that? Both Feiner and Shuangju instantly froze mid-motion, then slowly swiveled their heads around toward me like a couple of owls. Okay, he actually has a valid point there, Feiner admitted. Stroking my chin deliberately, a smug grin spread across my face. They had walked right into my carefully laid trap. I raised my index finger for emphasis, and that brings us directly to secret weapon number 2. What on earth is that? All 3 of them chorused at once. Your marksmanship skills also have to be top tier in general. Dazhuang's brain completely short-circuited. That's literally the exact same thing. How's that supposed to be any different? I wagged my finger teasingly. Oh, trust me, my friend, it's totally different. My friend. That first style of gun skill is strictly for the great outdoors, focused entirely on tracking down wildlife deep in the mountains. And generating cash flow, that's just a basic action verb right there. I paused briefly to let the suspense build. On the flip side, the second kind of gun mastery, now that's meant for inside the house. It has nothing to do with money. It functions as a stirring verb. You throw that little extra spice into the main action, and suddenly you catch my drift completely, don't you, brother? Absolute dead silence fell over the cart. Then Feiner's eyes suddenly bulged out of his head. He pointed right at me with his thumb shot up in the air, acting like I had just discovered fire for humanity. Holy SH. One single gun serving 2 totally different purposes. Absolute legend status. I totally bow down to you. Old Shuangju's face turned as red as a ripe tomato. He sat there struggling to form a coherent sentence. For a solid 30 seconds before finally gasping out, Luby, that has got to be the most eloquent drop of wisdom I've ever heard in my entire existence. Meanwhile, Dazhuang was still standing frozen right there, his lips moving continuously while muttering under his breath. Action verb. Stirring verb. Action, stirring. Repeating it over and over like a broken phonograph record. Then, out of nowhere, smack. He slapped his own forehead with a loud, ringing echo. Master, He literally dropped into a formal bow with both hands clasped. You drive this carriage of wisdom so effortlessly. Please accept my ultimate respect and worship. I honestly didn't even know how to respond to that spectacle. And then we had poor Har. Sweet, clueless little Har. He was slumped down at the very back of the cart, tugging frantically at his own hair and looking like he was on the verge of tears. Bro, what on earth are you even blabbering about with outside and inside? Action verbs and stirring verbs? I can't make sense of a single word you're saying. A bitter taste filled my mouth as I bit down hard enough to nearly draw blood. You got to consult your old man about this one, kid. Uncle Schwanju's packing tons of life experience, you know. He'll school you, right? My dad's totally got experience. Blinking once, Harder suddenly lit up like a neon sign, and slap his thigh hard, shouting, "Oh snap." It all clicks now. A visible twitch started plaguing Schwanju's eyelid. What exactly do you think you figured out, little dude? With a smug grin, Harder fired back. Big bro means you gotta surrender your weapon first. So you won't get toasted, and if you refuse to drop it, well, it's pretty much just like when mom loses her cool and boots you right off the bed, right? I nearly tumbled clean off the cart. Spitting out his water, Dajuan collapsed instantly, into a fit of laughter across the ox's back. Meanwhile, Feiner clutched his stomach tightly, as actual tears streamed down his cheeks. Old Shuangju's complexion shifted rapidly from crimson to pitch black and deep purple. His hand shot upward, fully prepared to slap some sense into his kid. Surrender my weapon? I'll surrender your. Yet, catching sight of Hawker's goofy, clueless face, the exact mirror image of his own square jaw, his raised hand just froze awkwardly midair. For a painfully long moment, he let out the heaviest, most defeated sigh I'd ever witnessed. The absolute torture we put up with for our own kids is unreal. Sliding a bit closer to me, Shuangju cleared his throat and tried playing it cool. So, Luby, I've got this buddy, just a regular friend. Right, a friend, I echoed, arching an eyebrow. Sure you do, uncle. Yeah, an old pal of mine. He used to be a legendary sharpshooter. Total deadeye, but lately, for some bizarre reason, his shooting accuracy has seriously tanked. You seem awfully well-versed in this exact issue, uncle. Got any pro tips? Not for me, of course, but for my buddy here, so I can relay the info back to him. Seriously, it's definitely not me. It's strictly my friend. Dajuan and Feiner quickly exchanged a knowing glance, getting the joke right away. Honestly, I caught on too. Naturally. I was just about to throw the old guy some helpful advice, when Har aggressively shoved his way forward, yelling out, "Big BRO. I've got a burning question too." Xuanju glared daggers at him. Grown-ups are talking here, so zip it. Completely ignoring him, Har continued, "Bro, I got a friend as well. And my buddy's got a brand new dad who's obsessed with guns. But lately that new dad's aim has gotten terribly garbage too. Can you help out? And just to be crystal clear, it's not my actual dad, it's my friend's new dad." Dajuan completely lost it, spraying water everywhere, as he slumped over the ox, laughing so hard he was gasping for air. Feiner was weeping, real tears streaming freely down his face, holding his aching belly while I choked for breath. My ribs hurt so bad from cackling that I couldn't even stop coughing up a storm. This absolute menace of a kid, this gloriously brainless and accidentally savage little dude, just announced to everyone on the cart that his mom might be seeing someone else. Right to his dad's face, while trying to copy his old man's "I have a friend" excuse. And he totally missed the implications of his own words. Shuangju's expression flickered through, every shade Mother Nature ever cooked up, shifting from crimson to jet black and deep purple, plus a few bizarre colors that don't even have names yet. Without warning, he lunged straight at Har, barking, "I'm gonna skin you alive." "Oh, Dad, seriously? Why are you hitting me?" "Because you just took everything I said and made it 10 times worse. Your friend's new dad? A person only gets one dad, kid. By phrasing it like that, you're basically implying your mom cheated on me." Cowering in fear, Horror ducked behind my back, muttering under his breath, "I meant it was my friend's new dad, not him becoming my new dad." Wait a second. His eyes suddenly dilated to the size of saucers, while both hands clamped hard over his mouth. "Oh no, does mom actually have a new beau, huh?" Br Schwanju's furious roar reverberated across the entire mountain range. "I am sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry." Suddenly, the cart erupted into absolute fits of laughter. Then, without any prior warning, the vehicle slammed to a halt, sending all of us flying face first toward the dirt path. "What the hell, Dajuan? Why'd you slam on the brakes?" "It wasn't me. The ox just stopped completely on its own, Dajun yelled back. All of us turned our gaze toward the old yellow ox. That stubborn beast had locked all four hooves deep into the mud, as if they were permanently glued there, refusing to budge even a fraction of an inch. Here's the golden rule about farm animals. They never freeze up like statues for no reason. When a massive cow firmly puts its foot down, you better pay attention, because that creature clearly senses something you don't. Right then is when I spotted them. 3 crimson indicators suddenly flashed in my peripheral vision. Yeah, I should probably catch you guys up to speed. Ever since my bizarre rebirth, I've been stuck with this weird superpower. I can spot lethal threats glowing like red markers on a military radar screen. The deeper the shade of red, the deadlier the monster you're dealing with. The farthest indicator was faint and pale in color, probably just a helpless rabbit or some small critter having a rough night. However, 2 other dots were much closer to our position. One light, one pitch dark. That pale dot was sprinting for its life, while the dark one was hot on its heels in a relentless pursuit. The crimson aura of that chasing shadow was infinitely deeper than any of the wolves I'd previously taken down. Oh man, that's definitely a wild leopard. Get your firearms ready right now, I yelled out. It's closing in fast, less than 40 meters out. You honestly should have witnessed the blinding speed with which those rifles were hoisted. For heavy guns were unslung in barely 2 seconds flat. Instantly, the surrounding forest plummeted into dead silence. No chirping insects, no singing birds. Absolute stillness across the board, leaving just 5 guys breathing heavily and trying desperately not to panic. Well, despite trying desperately to keep my cool, my mind was actually locked into razor-sharp focus. That dark red indicator kept surging forward at high speed, while the lighter one fled ahead of it, both hurtling straight toward us. Gripping my arm tightly, old Xuanju hissed, "Don't do anything reckless, kid. That monstrosity took a human life earlier today. We hold our ground and wait for it to break cover." Nodding in agreement, Feiner chimed in, "Stay completely composed, and don't spook the beast." But waiting wasn't an option for me. Every single second brought those glowing dots relentlessly closer, and allowing the leopard to dictate the rules of the fight meant absolute disaster for all of us. Shaking Xuanju's grip off my arm, I dropped low into a crouch and crept southeastward with my rifle raised and ready. This wild kid, Xuanju hissed, right behind me, completely terrified. Yet bless his idiot heart, he actually stepped up to back me up. If Big Bro's going, he's got a plan. Let's follow to Xuang, jumped down first. Then Fanner cursed us all out under his breath, and scrambled down too, because apparently he really didn't want to explain to my mother how our boy got himself eaten. Through the pitch-black woods crept 5 of us, low to the ground, our boots crunching on rotting leaves. Taking the lead, I kept my gun locked onto that dim red dot. 30 seconds in, I threw up a closed fist, and instantly everyone dropped into a squat. Just 10 meters ahead, there was in plain sight. A tiny deer was sprinting for its absolute life, when out of nowhere, a streak of yellow launched through the dark air. Moonlight caught it right mid-flight. Jet black spots, a thick tail, and muscles built like coiled steel. The leopard slammed onto the fleeing deer like a guided missile. Its powerful jaws instantly clamped down on the neck. With a few desperate kicks and a muffled shriek, the deer went totally limp. That's what Fanner whispered under his breath, barely containing his adrenaline rush. That's heading straight toward our camp area. That's got to be the exact beast that took out Old Yang. Giving a silent nod, I kept my eyes fixed ahead, ignoring everyone around me because I was playing the waiting game. See, here's the kicker about big cats that most folks don't realize. They are ridiculously hyper-aware. If you take a shot and merely wound or miss it, congratulations, you just unlocked an angry, injured, furious predator that knows your exact coordinates. At that point, it's no longer a hunting trip. It's a one-way ticket to your own funeral. Still gripping the deer's windpipe in its massive jaws, the leopard waited for the life to fade out. During this suffocating phase, it wouldn't shift an inch, yet its eyes scanned every single shadow in the surroundings. What I needed was for it to actually start feeding. That's the exact second its ironclad guard drops. Bringing up my rifle, I squinted and closed my left eye, lining up the iron sights directly with the back of its skull. 10 meters of distance, 0 wind resistance, and bang. The deafening gunshot ripped through the silent night like thunder. Loose autumn leaves showered down from the canopy. The leopard's muscular body instantly locked stiff. Its jaws flew open before it crashed hard onto its side. Its paws twitched twice, and it was lights out. One single shot, 0 hesitation. Right through the back of the head, clean as a whistle. Fanner grabbed both my shoulders and shook me like a rag doll. Luby, that was a masterpiece of shot, man. One single bullet, and you just saved our entire camp. And then this grown man, this adult forestry boss who should know better, snatched up his rifle and bolted full speed toward the fallen predator. You slaughter my worker. Let's see how tough those fangs of yours really are now. You little savage chief, wait up, Shuangju shouted out, trying to yank him back. But he was way too late. Fan Air was already kneeling inches away from the carcass. And right then and there, all hell broke loose. Suddenly, the seemingly lifeless leopard bolted straight up. Turns out it was totally fine. Using that poor deer as a human shield was a slick move by this sly beast. My bullet probably just grazed its skin, completely missing the brain. This psycho predator had been totally playing possum the whole time, just waiting for some oblivious fool to wander too close. An absolute clown like Fan Air walked right into it, his face turning ghostly white, with his eyes blown wide as dinner plates. His legs turned straight to jelly while his brain completely shut down. He stayed completely frozen in place, watching a 200-pound killing machine launch itself right at his face. Dajuan scrambled to raise his weapon, though his hands were shaking uncontrollably. Standing way too close to Fan Air, a single sloppy shot meant accidentally taking out the exact guy he was trying to save. Shuangju and Zhuang aimed their pieces too, facing the exact same dilemma. Taking that shot without risking the chief's life was totally impossible for anyone. Anyone except yours truly. Bang! A second shot tore straight through its left ear, exiting right out the other eye socket, while a gruesome mix of blood, bone, and brain matter splattered all over Fan Air's face, coating both his eyelids and his trembling lips. The heavy leopard dropped dead at his feet, like a massive sack of wet cement, stuck right where he stood. Fan Air gasped for air like a fish flopping on dry land. For a solid 30 seconds straight, Shuangju and Zhuang rushed over in a flurry, shoving the heavy beast aside to haul him back up to his feet. "Chief, are you okay?" Dajuan wiped the warm gore off his forehead with his sleeve. Still catching his breath frantically, Fan Air looked down in a panic at his pants. Are my pants still dry?" Dajuan glanced down briefly. "Yeah, you're good." "Oh, thank God, oh. Thank God." He quickly looked over in my direction. Pale moonlight reflected sharply off my trusty rifle barrel, with a thin wisp of smoke still curling slowly from the muzzle. I honestly looked pretty badass. Not gonna lie, his lips kept trembling for quite a while, before he could finally squeeze out 2 words. "Thank you." Harder came running over, screaming at the top of his lungs with pure joy. "Bro, that leopard is actually dead for real this time." "Chill. Isashash." I sprinted forward instantly and slapped my palm right across his mouth, because something felt seriously wrong. Just think back to that third red dot. The faint one glowing way out past 100 meters. The exact one I had completely written off as some harmless little critter. It was hurtling forward at incredible speed, and as the distance shrank, its color grew noticeably darker. Way darker, even darker than the leopard I had just put down. My stomach plummeted as I realized I had messed up big time. That color intensity wasn't just an indicator of how deadly a creature was. It also shifted depending on a range. From far away, even a terrifying monster can look deceptively pale. But when they get close, "Everybody down," I hissed urgently.